Disputes online before your expenses get out of line. Angel Hernandez will call the balls and strikes with Marty Foster at first, Ronald Culpa at second, and Randy Marsh, the umpire, at third. And the hand you hear in the background is Roger Clemens trotted out to the mound, and Roger has been beaten up by the Mets a little bit. Twice they beat Clemens last year. He's 1-3 against the Mets lifetime. And here is the Met lineup that Clemens will face tonight, Fran.
Yeah, Bobby Valentine will send Jason Tyner to the plate to lead it off. He'll be followed by Derek Bell, who's batting .294 now, and then Edgardo Alfonzo. But that's the guy in the middle of the lineup, and he's been on fire, hitting for average, hitting for power, driving in runs. And the big thing tonight for Mike Piazza, the throwing to second base.
So I mentioned that Clemens lost to the Mets twice last year, and lately he's been in one of those good game, bad game funks. 2 starts ago, he was absolutely brilliant when he hooked up with Pedro Martinez at Yankee Stadium. Took a complete game loss, game that he lost 2-0 on a Trot Nixon 2-out, 2-run home run in the 9th inning. How's Clemens different now from the mid-'80s, Fran?
Well, one thing that Clemens does, he's lost a little bit off the fastball, but not much. Still piling up the strikeouts, and that's an indication of a good fastball. I'm told the one thing that the Yankees see that's a little bit different, when you go from 98 miles per hour to about 96 or 94, you start losing confidence in your out pitch. And they feel at times he doesn't believe in his own stuff. But we'll see what happens tonight. Pretty good pitching matchup. Clemens against Leiter.
And the defense behind Roger Clemens for the Yankees tonight. Tino Martinez at first base. Clay Bellinger at second. That's because Chuck Knobloch is out of the lineup with a forearm injury. Derek Jeter at shortstop. Scott Brocious is at third, where he's bobbled the ball a half a dozen times over the last 38 games. Spencer Williams O'Neill left to right in the outfield with Clemens and Posada. Your battery tonight here at Yankee Stadium.
You see Bellinger at second base replacing Chuck Knobloch. I got to believe that Chuck Knobloch, and I sympathize with him because I had that problem throwing back to the pitcher. Chuck probably wanted no part of this series because the attention it gets. And when you have that throwing problem, you'll shy away from this type of exposure.
So Knobloch on the bench as Clemens gets set to go to work against Jason Tyner. And if you think you can see those eyes bulging wide, even from our center field camera, well, it's an exaggeration to be sure, but there's a little bit of something, a little bit to it, because Jason is taking that fresh-faced kid's approach to this series at Yankee Stadium. He walked in here this afternoon, not necessarily in awe of the surroundings, but I'll tell you what, he took a long look around this place.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Howie. This is a stadium that every major leaguer, the first time he walks in, he's intimidated by this place. There's some big ghosts in this ballpark.
The 2-0 from Clemens, a fastball over at the knees, 2-1.
How about Jason Tyner? He's in AAA ball. Early in the week, he gets the call to big leagues. He's playing in the Subway Series. He's looked good, swinging the bat, putting the bat on the ball.
On the outside corner, and Clemens has fought back to 2-2. Tyner says he understands the passion of fans in traditional rivalries. He knows it from the standpoint of being at Texas A&M when he played Texas. He said things could get pretty wild there. I think he's about to find out they can get a little bit wilder. Fastball up and away, so Tyner runs a full count. Jason Tyner's dad was in New York for his major league debut on Monday and has since gone back to Beaumont, Texas. Came back home after a couple of days away. 55 messages on the answering machine. Fouled away. Yeah, Willie Randolph.
Willie was moving the infielders around. Got Derek Bell on deck. The big at bat is right. There's Willie moving those infielders around for Tyner. Just move Brocious a little bit closer to the line at third base. Tough to set up a defense for Tyner, except play him shallow because he can put the bat on the ball. He can use the whole field.
And the payoff pitch from Clemens. It's hit in the air, center field, chasing Williams back, still going over his head. Tyner on his way to second. Williams up with the ball. And the Yankees just learned something about Jason Tyner right there. He does have some pop, not home run pop yet, but he just drove it over the head of Bernie Williams for a leadoff double.
They had him played perfectly. That's the way you got to play Jason Tyner. As he gets stronger, and he will in the big leagues, he'll do a lot more of this, and he'll start hitting the ball over the wall. Tyner with that contact swing, it's a line drive over Bernie Williams' head. You know what? Surprised Bernie Williams didn't catch that ball. but the ball rolled to the wall, and Tyner holds on at second base, and that there sets the pace here in the first inning. A contact hitter hitting the ball over the center fielder's head, something you don't expect.
Derek Bell, the batter now. Derek in a wicked batting slump as he fouls the first pitch back. He's just 4 for his last 53, but Bobby Valentine, at least after last night's game, said that he thought Derek had some better at-bats. Well, a lot of that may be just to take some of the public pressure off of Bell.
Just keep running him out there, and Bobby's doing it. Bobby is a manager who does try to take pressure off of his players. And if there are some players he'll put pressure on, but most of the time he's taking it off of the player.
1 ball, 1 strike to Bell.
Well, Derek Bell has really struggled. He doesn't want to call it a slump, but that's a slump. 4 for 53 over his last 13 ball games, and you can see it now in his demeanor in the clubhouse. Although he told me again today, he watched Judge Judy.
It's not a superstition, it's a passion. There's a difference. So Bell, who through most of the season has been so good at hitting the ball to the right side, at least will try to get Tyner to third. He takes low from Clemens, 2 balls, 1 strike.
Well, when you're in a slump, as you look at Edgardo Alfonzo on deck, you know, ordinarily I'd rather see Derek Bell just take a good rip, try to hit the ball someplace, not worry about moving the runner to third. But the way he's struggling, he's got to move the runner along.
2-1 pitch, swung on and missed.
You almost think if he does it on his own, maybe he pushes the ball, bunts the ball to the right side. Here's the last swing. Now he's taking a shot the other way. Boy, you can see in his eyes, you can see in his face, his body motion. He's losing confidence more and more at the plate.
So 2-2 now to Bell with Tyner at second. In on the hands, and Derek fights it off.
Derek was talking to me about the hit he got the other night where he hit the ball on the ground, and it was a broken background ball to Mike Bordick at shortstop, and the ball took a bad hop. He said, maybe this will get me out of the slump.
Well, not yet. He's 2-2 here with Clemens with nobody out, and Tyner in scoring position. Tyner with outstanding speed. Conservative lead.
Yeah, he can get a bigger lead out there.
He's now a full count.
He's going to get help from Cookie Ross. Big thing for Jason Tyner is be aggressive with your lead and rely on Cookie to tell you if Jeter's going to break in from behind. You want a big lead because you don't want to make it close at the plate on a base hit to the outfield.
Payoff pitch from Clemens, and Bell stays alive.
Borderline pitch right there. Derek Bell aggressively swinging it at that ball and fouling the ball off. Too close to take, and when you're in a slump, a ball in this area right here, they might even call it a strike, but that's a ball. Another look at Clemens' fastball out of the strike zone and up, and Bell stays alive.
Clemens looking for the punch out here. He's third in the American League in strikeouts, and he's 3-2 to Bell. And again, Derek Bell fights him off.
And that's a good pitch for Derek Bell to hit. Roger Clemens throws the fastball with usually pretty good control, the splitter, slider, and sometimes a break the curveball.
This duel is about to reach its 9th pitch. Bell has fouled several 2-strike pitches back from Clemens. Tyner takes his lead. Here's the payoff pitch again, and once more, Bell fouls it away.
The biggest thing for Derek Bell, if he can relax, if you can do it, but when you're in a slump, you tend to grab that bat, you're too tight. And Derek Bell right now, if he could just relax those hands and relax his body, if he could hit the ball hard someplace and get a base hit, that could get him going. Even a broken bat base hit can get you going. Just relax those hands, and when you're in a slump, you grip the bat much too tight. Although he looks relaxed right there, except for that bottom hand.
Again, a payoff pitch. And this time it's taken for a call, strike 3. So Clemens wins the double-digit battle in an 11-pitch duel with Derek Bell, who finally strikes out looking.
Well, this pitch is going to get all the great hitters out. Look at the location. Right on the corner, running in off the plate. Look at the grip on the ball from Roger Clemens, and he runs it in. And all you can hope for there is the home plate umpire calls it a ball. But it wasn't. There was a good pitch from Roger Clemens, and Bell is out. So the runner still on second base has not moved along. Get a feeling if the situation is the same next time up, he might bunt it to the right side.
And now it's Alfonso. He looks at a fastball upstairs, ball one.
Talking to Willie Randolph before the ball game about this guy, Edgardo Alfonso. Boy, are they impressed with him, the Yankees. You know, they get a chance to watch the Mets occasionally, and the complete player, Edgardo Alfonso.
1-0, pulled towards the hole, cut off, throw to third by Jeter, safe.
How about that?
Jeter took a chance, and the Mets have runners at the corners with one man out.
Well, he probably wouldn't have thrown Alfonso out at first base, so he wisely went to third. Now, let's face it, Jason Tyner's supposed to go back to second and a ball hit in front of him. But he uses that great speed to beat the throw. The throw was high, and Tyner gets in. This should be an easy out at third base. But speed always wins out. Jason Tyner, that's a huge base for the Mets and Tyner. You see that slide, and now you got runners on first and third for Mike Piazza. Big break right there. Tyner beating the throw to third.
0-1 to Piazza. We told you earlier about the damage that he's done already against the Yankees over the last couple of years. Piazza's numbers against the Yankees, 12 out of 35 with 3 home runs. And he's also just torn up Roger Clemens. Piazza 5 for 9 with 2 home runs against Clemens. Runners at the corners, 1 out. You may have been right about no chance, or Jeter not having much of a chance, as you look at what Piazza's done in these games against the Yankees. I think he might have had a shot at Alfonso at first base, though.
Well, a good throw at third gets Tyner. I think it was easier for him to make the play at third.
The 0-1 to Piazza. And now he's behind at the count, 0-2. With Tyner's speed, and this being the first inning, the Yankees with the infield back, they'll concede a run here early. Alfonso, not nearly as much speed, average speed at best on at first.
Well, you can set the tone right now. Tyner has set it. See if the Mets capitalize on it. They got the big bopper at the plate with runners on third and first.
0-2 on the way. Leiter misses. Good play by Posada.
First guy in the clubhouse today at around 2:30, Mike Piazza.
Who, by the way, says that heel that he jammed, bruised last night, going in awkwardly at first base, is a little sore, but he's okay. Got right back behind the plate after the injury last night. That's a tight-knit group right there. Darryl Hamilton on the disabled list.
The Yankees sitting down and the Mets standing up watching the game on the top step.
And they go back and forth like jack-in-the-boxes before this one's over. Up and in to Piazza, 2-2. Several of the players I talked to before the game, including Robin Ventura, say that even though you try and downplay the significance of these games before they start, once the game begins and you hear what the crowd's all about and you sense the almost tangible intensity, you can't help but get your emotions working at a pitch they normally don't reach during the regular season. For Tyner, of course, that goes without saying. To him, this is the Aggies threatening against the Longhorns early. And the 2-2 taken for a called third strike.
That was a good pitch from Clemens. Clemens, when he had it come in on Bell, he got him. This ball was down a little bit more. It looked like it got the inside part of the plate. Pinpoint control. That's what it took to get Piazza, and he got Bell with the same type pitch inside. Not only pitching inside, but running the ball off the plate inside. Got Mike Piazza to buckle those legs, 2 strikes. And you know, when you go up there with 2 strikes, the big thing is you're trained to protect that plate. Don't let him beat you outside, and you're vulnerable inside. You see it time and again.
Posada wants it away. And Clemens throws a strike to Robin Ventura. And we told you how Derek Bell has struggled lately. Well, so's Ventura. Robin only 4 hits in his last 34 at-bats. So that average down now to 236. But what's rising steadily and quickly is Clemens' pitch count. He's throwing a lot of pitches here. as he throws a change outside, 1-1. He's thrown 25 pitches. That was actually number 26.
He's as strong as a bull. And that guy there, Mel Stottlemyre, a very good pitching coach. Looks like he's calling. Is he calling the signs? Calling the pitches?
Just an inch.
I don't think so.
And the 1-1 upstairs. 2 balls and a strike to Ventura.
But one dangerous thing, and I'm not sure, maybe they're just talking about what the sign is maybe for a pitch out or to throw through. When a catcher goes out there, he should call the pitches as you look at the pitch count, 27 pitches. And Roger Clemens on the mound, there's only one guy that should be calling the game, Roger Clemens.
2 balls, 1 strike, 2 outs. Fouled away by Ventura. These guys, of course, have seen each other for years, going back to Ventura's days with the Chicago White Sox. Robin's done well against him, 15 out of 52, including a home run. Right now, Clemens, a strike away from getting out of first-inning trouble. Gave up a leadoff double to Tyner. Struck out Bell. Alfonso reached on a fielder's choice with Tyner safe at third. Clemens has struck out Piazza. Posada checks in with Stottlemyre. And Clemens steps off.
Posada looking in the dugout, then flashing no signs. So maybe he is getting some help from the bench.
2-2. Just low. So Clemens came within an eyelash there of catching 3 Mets looking here in the first inning. Now, Ventura will have a payoff pitch to deal with, and that'll mean an automatic start at first base for the base runner Edgardo Alfonso. Three balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. Martinez dropped back behind Alfonso, but now Ventura gets time.
Girardi did a lot of catching when Clemens was struggling. In fact, they decided to make that switch and have Girardi do the catching of Clemens. I think Clemens wanted to pitch to Girardi. And as Clemens continued to struggle, Posada went to Joe Torre last year and said, let me catch him. And Joe Torre said, okay, and that's how he ended up going back out there and catching Clemens. But I think when you have a veteran catcher like Girardi, and he helped the Yankees the last couple of years, it set Posada's progress back. Posada had more talent, but yet he had to sit down and let Girardi do a lot of the catching.
Payoff pitch, back to Clemens. And the Yankees get out of some early trouble. A leadoff double by Tyner. The Mets leave 2. And in the middle of the first, Al Leiter gets set to get back to his old stomping grounds in his mom's life. Prouder even than when he pitched a no-hitter. Prouder even than when he pitched the 7th game of a World Series. Tonight, the dream came true. Derek Jeter, first up, goes after the first pitch. Easy play for Abbott. Just like that, 1 away.
Sounded like he broke his back.
Well, Leiter will do that. So Leiter, we mentioned 5th in the National League in earned run average. Most importantly, despite all of these numbers, or really to go along with these numbers, the Mets are 10-1 in the 11 games that he's pitched. So even though he's had those 4 no decisions, those are games the Mets have won.
Throwing a lot of pitches. He's got a great arm. Very healthy arm. You saw how many pitches Roger Clemens had to throw in the first inning.
Inside to Bernie Williams, ball 1.
I saw Leiter break Derek Jeter's bat. Al Leiter was telling me that in Colorado he broke so many bats. The next day, the clubhouse man for the Colorado Rockies sent them a bill.
Yeah, $400.
Imagine that. Sent them a bill for breaking bats.
There's that cut fastball inside to the right-hand batter. You know who taught him that pitch? Ron Guidry.
And you know who taught Ron Guidry? Sparky Lyle. Happened right out there in that bullpen. Guidry was relegated to the pen. Sparky was making his living in the pen.
Uh-oh. You're part of the 6 degrees of separation here. You've been around all of them. How far back does this go?
Well, no. It was Sparky. And Sparky was one of the first players to just throw all sliders. Every pitch Sparky threw for about 10 years was a slider.
They knew what was coming. All right, so they're taking census, at least in that section. And the 2-1 to Williams. Tied him up. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Williams on a 5-game hitting streak.
Sure, Ron Guidry had an effect on Dave Righetti. Dave Righetti had an effect on Al Leiter.
Two to Bernie. Chop foul. Generally speaking, you know Al has his good stuff early. When he does bust those right-handers in, whether he breaks bats or not, he'll get weakly hit ground balls when he's on. Although if you talk to Al, as part of him, he probably would say he's a fly ball pitcher. Throw a lot of fly balls too in the course of a game. Two and two to Williams. There's the slider, and now the count full.
It's a good try. We've seen it so many times when he does throw that pitch. Hitters trying to stop that bat because you got to get it going, and they swing through that pitch. Paul O'Neill on deck.
So 3-2 with one out. Outfield plays him to pull. And Williams protecting away, fouls it off to the right side. Well, the Met outfield with pretty good speed. And even though they've changed the dimensions of this ballpark, Tyner, Payton, and Bell left to right still have a lot of ground to cover. And this is nowhere near the cavernous place that it was before it was remodeled. Williams fouls it away, but you still look out to left center field. The power alley in left center, 399 feet away. So she'll need a zoom lens to get a good shot of that wall. 385 to the power alley in right center.
I remember when if a guy hit that ball in the bullpen, you were amazed. Today, they do it a lot because of their power.
Payoff pitch. Again, Williams gets jammed. So Leiter and Williams now having a duel. 3 balls, 2 strikes.
We talked about how the players are stronger. Remember when Thurman Munson hit the ball out of Doug Bird in the playoffs in the 70s into the bullpen? Everybody was just like, how do you do that?
Payoff pitch. Ball 4. So they throw the slider 3-2 and walks Williams. And the Yankees get a 1-out base runner. It'll bring up Paul O'Neill. Defensively behind Leiter, Mets have Zeal, Alfonso, Abbott, and Ventura first to third on the infield. And in the outfield, Jason Tyner, Jay Payton, Derek Bell left to right, Leiter, and Piazza the battery. Robin Ventura with 7 errors so far this year. A little uncharacteristic for Robin, but the Mets still making among the fewest errors in the National League. Only 2 teams have made fewer. So now it's O'Neill.
Back in 1992, Paul O'Neill hit 14 home runs for the Cincinnati Reds. His manager at the time was Lou Piniella. That winter, Lou had lunch with Gene Michael. He said, I'm gonna work this guy. I'm gonna drive him crazy. He's gonna hate me, but I'm gonna have him hit 40 home runs. Well, he didn't. He hit 14 home runs, but he still hated Lou.
Well, those are 2 similar personalities that probably never had a chance. How about our pitchers tonight? The matchup brought to you by New York Marriott Marquis, Broadway's biggest hit. Leiter with the decided edge over Clemens as far as the interleague games are concerned. And the 1-0, take it on the outside corner. Well, Leiter will do that a lot against those left-hand hitters. You know, lefties are hitting just a .21 against Leiter this year. It's always been tough against left-handers. And that's the indicator right there. Just 121 with 2 home runs. Now it's given up 9 overall as he keeps close tabs on Bernie Williams at first.
Well, if you have a left-hander and he's at all comfortable facing anybody in his ballpark, especially a guy like Paul O'Neill, you have to put him in the lineup because even if Leiter dominates Paul O'Neill, one swing of the bat, one mistake, he can pop the ball over the right field fence.
Well, they show a lot of attention to Williams, and for good reason here. The Yankees will run. They stole 5 bases in their last game. That was on Wednesday at Montreal.
They're starting to steal a lot more. Lee Mazzilli, the first base coach, has motivated a lot of these guys to run, and pressure is on Mike Piazza.
Williams running. Here's Piazza's throw. It's a poor one, and it kicks off of Abbott, but is backed up by Alfonso.
Well, we talked about it in the open, and that's what they're going to do. They're going to make Mike Piazza throw him out. Once he throws out a couple of these runners, because they're not great base stealers, he can stop their running game. But until he does, they're going to run, and Mike's going to have to throw him out. That was a bad throw by Mike Piazza. And Williams picks up a stolen base. But that one way or the other might determine this 3-game series, the stolen base. Jorge Posada, a real strong throwing arm from behind the plate with the Yankees.
1-2 to O'Neill. Now Williams at second. And Leiter misses outside. So each team is threatened here in the first inning. Mets had an instant threat when Jason Tyner led off with a double over the head of Bernie Williams, but the Mets couldn't get him home. And now O'Neill, who like so many lefties has suffered against Leiter, has an RBI possibility here. O'Neill with 35 runs batted in this year. Outfield changed him the other way. And the 2-2 inside. So another full count. Leiter had a double-digit battle with Bernie Williams. And now Bobby Valentine has seen Leiter go 3-2 on Paul O'Neill.
Bobby likes the music.
So an industrious first inning, both pitchers. Williams, good speed and scoring position. Abbott in behind, just trying to keep him close. Don't pound the glove, let him know where he is. And the payoff pitch, got him. So Paul O'Neill struck out. 2 men away, and will bring up Shane Spencer. So Leiter gets his first strikeout, an important one, against a tough left-handed hitter.
Well, we told you, left-handers have a difficult time without Leiter. That's a nasty pitch. It kept sliding away. This ball was slip sliding away from Paul O'Neill. Nothing you can do with it. Hope you foul it off. And he was overmatched in that at bat.
So O'Neill gone. You always have to keep an eye on it. He's liable to explode after any at-bat at any point in the game. But now it's Shane Spencer batting in the cleanup spot. Leiter ties him up 0-1. Could he have had a manager at that early point in his career any more like himself than Lou Piniella?
Oh, boy. Lou had a great temper also. And it all revolved around your offense.
0-1 to Spencer with Williams at second. And now Leiter steps off. Williams was dancing around off second base. So
Leiter wants to talk to Mike Piazza. Maybe somewhat concerned with the runner on second base, but I don't think you should be, because you take a survey of the modern day players, and even if you can call the pitches, a lot of them don't want them. So Al Leiter called Mike Piazza out to the mound. I'm sure to talk about Spencer or the signs with Bernie Williams on second base.
Oh, and 1 on Spencer. And again, Leiter comes in on his hand. So he's tied him up twice now, and he's ahead 0-2. Mentioned Spencer only batting cleanup for the 6th time so far this season. Bernie Williams has hit cleanup most of the time. Knobloch not in the lineup. Left-hander on the mound. So Joe Torre playing with it a bit. And the 0-2 off the inside corner. The Leiter's gone inside continuously during this at-bat with Shane Spencer. And Jorge Posada waits on deck. Now it's Alfonso sneaking in, trying to keep Williams close. 1-2 on the way, and Williams will be stranded as Spencer goes down on strikes. So good job by Leiter as he strikes out O'Neill, and then Spencer after Williams stole second with 1 out. We'll head to the second, scoreless. The Subway Series, especially those with the Dodgers, and he remembers them fondly.
When we played the Dodgers, it was great. You didn't have to travel that far. It was good, and you get keyed up for it, like any other sports. You get keyed up for a certain game, but then it's like another game. It is, and you know, a lot of people used to say the Dodgers and the Yankees were enemies. We weren't enemies. We played hard against each other, and we were friends out. When the game was over, we were all friends. So it was great.
You know, the first part of what Yogi said really works against what some of the players told me today, Fran. Not so much that they get keyed up before the game and it becomes just another one once it starts. Some of the Met players were saying just the opposite. As Todd Zeal takes ball 1 from Clemens, that they try and downplay it beforehand. But once they experience everything from the fans and All of the external forces that become part of the internal operation, they really get into it. 1-1 to Clemens.
Talked to Don Zimmer before the ball game. His thoughts on the Subway Series, and they were similar to Yogi's. Great atmosphere. He said we used to beat the Giants and get beat by the Yankees.
Hit to the right side. Easy play for Clay Bellinger. Seals out, 1 away.
Don Zimmer was saying that he saw the show on Metro Channel yesterday, triggered his mind. He saw Ralph Brank and Willie Mays, guys that participated in the Subway Series.
I don't know about you, because I know you had some exposure to this place even before you became a major league player. I know you were in that Journal American tournament
in high
here.
school.
To me, because of the remodeling between 1974 and 1976, it seems like a different ballpark. I mean, yeah, the framework is still there, but it's not the same stadium.
Well, what about the monuments? They're gone from center field. I mean, they're out there in left center field, but they said the monuments right in the middle of the, you'd see a guy hit a ball and it bounce over the monuments. The center fielder would run around the monuments to pick the ball up.
Flagpole was on the field.
Yeah.
Center field was 461 feet away. Lenny Harris fouls it back 0-2.
They didn't have as many numbers retired as they do now. Pretty soon they're going to have to, they won't be able to give out numbers here at Yankee Stadium.
Now look at that. I mean, that's probably the most defining characteristic of the stadium. But that facade used to surround the entire circumference of the ballpark, where now the lights are. And if they ever remodel this place, they've got to put that facade back where it belongs. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
I don't think they're going to do that.
I just think it would give the place more of the feel that it had before 1973, the last year that the ballpark existed in its original form.
Well, the house that Ruth built, it really is the house that John McGraw built, because the Yankees were playing in the Polo Grounds when they were losing.
Harris down on strikes. Third strikeout for Roger Clemens.
When the Yankees started to win, John McGraw got mad and threw him out of the Polo Grounds, so they had to build the stadium. And they built Yankee Stadium.
So Clemens has now retired the last 4, and it'll bring up Jay Payton.
Clemens getting in his rhythm now. First inning through about 28 or 29 pitches. And in this inning, he is finding a plate in a hurry. This guy could be a key in the series. Jay Payton, he is starting to swing the bat.
Breaking ball right back through the middle. And that's a good sign that he's swinging the bat as well as you like to think Payton can.
Well, a better sign was last night when he hit a line drive over the left field fence. But in talking to Jay Payton before the ball game, he said he's feeling a lot better at the plate. Take a look at this swing. It's a compact, strong stroke. Gets that front foot down and bang, right back up the middle. Just swung down in that ball, hit the ball hard into center field. Payton, who roomed with Nomar Garcia-Pera for 3 years at Georgia Tech, said that they used to talk hitting, Garcia-Pera with no stride and Jay Payton with a very small stride.
Now consider Payton in the 8th spot in the batting order. Well, now he can run a little bit more liberally because he's got a position player batting 9th rather than the pitcher.
Yeah.
That's why Payton's speed, you look at him batting 8th and you say, well, Jesus, way down in the order. But he's a valuable commodity, as would anybody with speed be in the 8th slot in the American League.
Well, he wants to run, and Bobby Valentine wants him to run. Mookie Wilson thinks he could be a good base stealer.
Roger Clemens seemingly expects him to run.
But the big thing is the balk.
Clemens wants to know what he did. That was a late balk call. I believe it was made by the home plate ump, Angel Hernandez, rather than the first base ump, Marty Foster.
You know, it looked like he told Clemens that he was spinning on the mound rather than stepping toward first base. Take a look. We'll see that back foot and the front foot. See if he spins. Well, boy, that's borderline. It didn't look like a block to me.
Bounce to the hole by Abbott. This time Jeter goes to first acrobatically and gets help from Martinez, who applies the tag, and Abbott can't believe it.
He might get thrown out of the game. I knew it. Threw his helmet. He can't get thrown out of this game. Obviously, Abbott feels that Martinez missed him with the glove, but Abbott's gone. And you know, Abbott hitting a home run in yesterday's ball game, he's got some pop in that bat. That's an unfortunate move by Kurt Abbott. You can understand it as a player, but it's a bad move. He's the one guy who could play shortstop and hit the ball out. Bobby Valentine might get thrown out. And you have to question whether or not the first base umpire, Marty Foster, had a quick hook or a quick thumb.
Well, Bobby's getting close.
What type of language did Abbott use? That's the thing. But he did throw his helmet.
Well, I know that could be a fine. I don't know about an automatic expulsion from the game. It's not, by definition, an automatic expulsion.
I don't think you can throw any equipment.
Well, it used to be that you could, but you'd be automatically fined, and they wouldn't throw you out. And that may have changed over the years.
Maybe he said the magic word
I think that's more of what did it. But in any event, Kurt Abbott lost his cool at the wrong time.
Wow, he missed him.
Not that there's ever a good time, but
look at him. He's thrown out of the game. That's a real great effort by Derek Jeter, but watch Tino Martinez miss Kurt Abbott, and Abbott went crazy, threw his helmet, and whatever he said, he got tossed.
So Melvin Mora, the shortstop now, breaking ball to Jorge Posada for strike one. So a quick fuse there from Marty Foster. Remember, too, you know, in the American League, and you don't need pinch hitters as much as in the National League because you have the DH, but generally speaking, you'll keep one less position player on the bench because you're using 9 position guys instead of 8.
Yeah, but that doesn't bother me. What bothers me is Abbott has the ability to pop the ball over the wall, and he hit a home run in last night's ball game. Now, Melvin Mora has gone in the ball game at shortstop. Abbott going down to first base. Tino Martinez clearly missed him. Of course, we have the camera with all kinds of different angles. First base umpire only, well, that's why he gets thrown out.
To the shortstop, Mora, who sets and throws, and a good pick by Zeal. Posada's out, one away, so Mora tested immediately.
How about that? You're going to ball game. How loose can you be? You've been sitting on the bench after working out in pregame drills, and the first hitter gets jammed and hits the ball to you. One out. Nice play by Melvin Mora. And the throw across the infield, and a nice scoop by Todd Zeal.
So remember, the Mets, in reality, are down 2 shortstops already because you've got Ray Ordonez, their regular, on the disabled list. Abbott thrown out of this game, and now it's Melvin Mora.
You know, it's funny. When you look at that play Jeter made, I mean, it was a great play. We're so used to seeing Ordonez. Now they become everyday plays in New York, here at Yankee Stadium, and also at Shea.
Tino Martinez takes a fastball on the outside corner. Tino on a 9-game hitting streak. That's a strike, and Leiter quickly ahead, 0-2.
Well, again, we talk about Leiter's ability to pitch these left-handers. Joe Torre not intimidated by Al Leiter, so he leaves the left-handers in. Question is, are they intimidated?
Up and in with a fastball, 1-2. Tino just 2 for 14 against Al Leiter.
Well, the Yankees are hoping that Nick Johnson, who is injured now, could have a solid year in the minor leagues. He had a great year last year in Double-A ball for the Yankees.
1-2 rolled to Mora. So Mora getting some work early here. 2 men away. And the next batter will be Jim Leyritz. Hey, this live view is courtesy of the Bud One airship, seen by millions on its ongoing Goodwill tour. Budweiser, the official beer of Major League Baseball.
Well, talking about Nick Johnson, last year batted .345 in Norwich with 14 home runs, 87 RBIs, and they're hoping he'll be the first baseman of the future with the Yankees.
Well, Jim Leyritz, the designated hitter of the present, at least for this game, against Al Leiter. Leyritz, of course, in a second go-round with the Yankees, hit a dramatic home run in the '96 World Series against the Atlanta Braves and was traded that winter. And boy, did he ever bounce around for 2 years. He played for 4 teams in the next 2 years. Anaheim, Texas, the Red Sox, and San Diego. Came back here somewhat heartsick to play against the Yankees in the '98 World Series. But now he's back. And he rips one over shortstop Mora and into left field. So Jim Leyritz with a 2-out single.
Once again, a broken bat, but Leyritz strong enough to muscle the ball into left field. And you wonder in a situation like this where Leyritz is not really quick of foot, will they challenge and see if they can steal a base here? Here's Leyritz muscling the ball in left field. Al Leiter wanted to get that ball in, didn't get it in tight enough. Jason Tyner getting the ball back in. So Jim Leiter's on first base.
So Zeal playing in front of him as Scott Brocious, the third baseman, steps in, takes inside 1-0.
You know, I mentioned how Leiter really is not a great base runner or a base stealer, but it's gotten to the point now where you just have to think when a runner gets on first base, do you challenge the Mets?
Way inside, 2-0.
And Mike Piazza, it looked like last night, getting some confidence back, getting rid of the ball quickly, cutting down Delano DeShields for 1.
Mentioned the Yankees have been running more lately. They're second in the American League in total stolen bases. And now the Yankee fans starting to get it going. On the inside corner, 2-1 to Scott Brocious. Well, who've been the leaders in the Subway Series?
Well, it's brought to you by British Airways. See Scott Brocious, 387. He's been struggling this year offensively.
Inside 3-1. The Leiter continues to work inside to Brocious.
2 years ago, Brocious had a real solid year with the bat, and the Yankees are concerned that, you know, throughout his career, it's been a good year, bad year, good year, bad year. Well, last year he batted 247, and 98 he batted 300.
Now, don't forget he was hurt and on the disabled list very early this season. 3-1 on the way, and that's inside for ball 4. So after Leiter threw a couple of ground balls, now a base hit by Leiritz and a walk to Brocious, and Clay Bellinger will be the batter.
Well, Bellinger playing in place of Chuck Knobloch. In my opinion, Howie, Chuck Knobloch would be playing tonight if he didn't have the throwing problem. But because of the throwing problem, it just plays with your head. And the last place you want to be is at second base tonight. With a crowd like this, the interest in New York sky high in this series. And that throwing problem, I am telling you, will drive you crazy and the manager.
Well, he also has the forearm injury,
Well,
and the Yankees have toyed with putting him on the DL.
Well, you know what, I've talked to a number of people with the Yankees. I would say, and I had the throwing problem back to the pitcher, the biggest problem is the throwing problem. I'm sure the forearm, he could have played with that.
0-1 to Bellinger. Boy, Clay Bellinger's a great story. Here's a guy who was in the minor leagues just about 10 years. He was signed by Tom Zimmer. Don Zimmer, who's a Yankees coach, is the father of Tom, who signed Bellinger for the Giants. Remember last year, Joe Torre was sick with prostate cancer early in the year. The 0-1, take it inside. So when Bellinger made the ball club, he was told by Don Zimmer that he was coming north with the Yankees, and they both cried. Don, because he understood what Bellinger had been through, and also, at least in Zim's case, partially out of the satisfaction of having one of his son's draft picks persevere and finally make it to the big leagues. He's a baseball lifer, Don Zimmer. That's an amazing story, isn't it? That he has never cashed a paycheck, at least that he admits to, that was derived from anything outside of baseball. Guess he didn't even have a paper route.
I was talking to him today about that manager, and he said he couldn't do it anymore. He said it's just too much, you know. He said long-term contracts, getting calls from players' agents, just too much to handle.
Zim better protected now than he was a year ago, too. Barriers in front of the dugout. 2-1 on the way, take it inside. Remember, Zimmer was clocked with a line drive during the postseason and had to be carried out of the Yankee dugout.
Well, we talked about how tough it is to see a game from the dugout. That's why a lot of the Mets and now a lot of the Yankees are on the top step, leaning on the railing, watching the game.
What would Ralph Houck have done? Used to be up on that top step, picking at the dirt. But here's a big pitch from Leiter. 3-1 to Bellinger with 2 on, and he loops one right to Mora, side retired. So Melvin Mora and Al Leiter combined to take care of the Yankees in the second. 2 in the books, game 1 of the first Subway Series at the and Tyner is 2 for 2. At least he should be.
Well, when you come out of that shoot, when you know somebody can run, you got to rush it. And Tyner get down that baseline in a hurry. Posada rushing the throw. He had that high release point, making Martinez jump.
Well, they're giving Posada an error on this. That's such a close play, though.
They would get him if it was a good throw. In fact, if Posada took a little bit more time, he has a very strong throwing arm and just muscled up and threw that ball. If he throws a strike, he gets Tyner at first base.
I just thought that was going to be too close to assume that Tyner deserved a base hit, but it's an error. And most importantly for the Mets, he's a leadoff base runner. And now Derek Bell taking a long look at Cookie Rojas. Well, a lot of times managers, when there's a struggling hitter at the plate, will put the hit and run on. Force the hitter to bear down. I think Derek Bell did so consistently well right up until the beginning of his slump, which coincided with the Mets' last road trip, was hit behind the runner.
Here's a situation where you might want to put the runner in motion and make Bell swing the bat. El Stottlemyre. Calling the pitches for Jorge Posada.
More importantly for Roger Clemens, which is kind of surprising.
Well, I'm sure Roger Clemens liked pitching to Girardi, so obviously Girardi was calling the game, so they must have said, okay, we'll call the game for Posada.
Unless all he's calling there are pitch outs.
Well, that's a possibility, but I mean, we've caught Mel Stottlemyre flashing a lot of signs out to the young catcher. Well, he's not that young. He's 28 years old. He's got enough experience. In fact, that experience is overrated. All you have to do is sit down and talk about it before the game. If you have to make a decision about an experienced player over somebody with ability, take ability every time.
Bell swings through the fastball, 0-1.
But one thing about calling the signs from the dugout, those real shrewd players, if they want to steal the signs, it's easier to steal a sign when it's called from the dugout. Rusty Staub was one of the best in the business at stealing the signs. And when they called the pitches from the dugout, he would watch the coach or the manager in the dugout and get the pitches.
Boy, that'll put more time on the game, too, when they've got to start calling every pitch from the dugout.
That's a pitch out.
Did you get the sign?
Well, Mel must have given him the sign. There's a lot of signs being flashed. You don't want to miss a sign tonight. Find the indicator. It's usually the first sign after the indicator. You know what? It's tough to catch today. Look at there. You get all those signs. I used to worry about getting the signs from the third base coach when I was hitting. Now the catchers have to worry about the pitching coach giving signs.
Well, since nothing much has happened, they just might want to tell each other what they're planning to do, and let's get on with it. 1 ball, 1 strike, nobody out. Tyner not running, and Bell takes it high, 2-1.
Remember that first time up, Bell struck out in a pitch just like that, but it got the corner of the plate, so clearly Clemens is going after Bell inside. Here we go again. Bell looking down at Cookie Rojas. Posada will look in the dugout. Really amazing thing, they tell me that even on the high school and college level, the coaches are calling the pitches for the catcher.
Now Tyner runs, and Bell, trying to go the other way, fouls it off. So Derek Bell, who at least a half dozen times this year has taken that pitch the other way and hit behind the runner, executing the hit and run perfectly, fouls it off. So now the count, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Cookie Rojas gets it from Bobby Valentine, and here we go again.
Well, if the Yankees are going to run on the Mets, when they have a base runner on, should just run. Make Posada throw him out, although Posada has a good throwing arm. Be very aggressive on the bases.
Two and 2. Big lead by Tyner. Not going, and the pitch taken upstairs. Now on 3 and 2. Bobby Valentine has a decision to make. Early in the year would probably be academic, but because Derek Bell has struck out so much more often as of late, that would increase the chances of a strikeout. And even though Tyner's got great speed, you're giving one of the best catchers in the league an opportunity at a strikeout, throwout, double play.
This kid's going to make money stealing bases. I challenge him.
So 3 and 2. Tyner runs. Ball 4 off the glove. Let's see if Tyner does.
Oh boy, he didn't pick it up quick enough. He was on his way to second base. Good aggressive base running by Tyner. It was a stolen base, High fastball getting by Posada. Now, I don't think he was crossed up. 3-2. Take a look at this fastball. Very high release point by Clemens, and the ball gets by Posada. But when you're running to steal a base, well, he did see it. Surprised he didn't take off to third, although it's still a pretty good run back to the backstop for Posada.
Jason just playing it conservatively with nobody out here in the third inning.
Yeah, but
and the heart of the order coming up.
But a guy like that with good speed, and he's aggressive in stealing that base, he goes all the way to third base. You just put more pressure on Clemens. Do you take the split finger pitch away from him with a runner on third?
But Tyner's at second, which is where he was after his leadoff double in the first inning. Derek Bell is at first, and now it's Alfonso. He reached on a fielder's choice. And another one off the glove of Posada, and now they'll both move up. And second and third, nobody out for the Mets.
And when this happens to a pitcher like Clemens, who relies a lot on his catcher, we talked about how he wanted Girardi last year. Well, what happens is you lose your confidence in what you're throwing to the catcher. Two balls that really should have been caught by Posada. The first one was tough. This ball is very catchable. Just bouncing out of his glove. And this worries the pitcher. Now you get runners on second and third. Look at that ball right in and out of the glove.
Pass ball.
Even the one before should have been caught.
1 ball, 1 strike now to Alfonso. So the pass ball moving the runners into scoring position. And Clemens, who's been in trouble all night long, is at it again. Even though he got the first 2 batters in the second inning. After a balk, the Mets had a runner in scoring position with 2 out, but Abbott grounded out. And now the 1-1 to Alfonso outside. So 2-1 to Fonzie. And Mike Piazza waits on deck. So the Mets trying to bust through here in the first inning. They left 2 on in the first, 1 in the second, and Clemens has thrown at least a half a game's worth of pitches, at least on a good night already, with nobody out in the third. Ball 3. Now he's pitch away from loading him up. Well, Clemens trying to keep it together here. He struck out 3 so far. The walk to Bell was the first. But Clemens really has been all over the place here in the third inning. And Alfonso, the guy the Mets won up in this spot. Fouled away, full count.
Well, Clemens clearly with a good fastball, fast enough to handcuff his catcher, Jorge Posada. And 3-2 now on Alfonso. His best pitch is his fastball. He has spotted the fastball pretty well in this game. He's got Piazza up next.
55 pitches now by Clemens. Inside, they're loaded up with nobody out for Piazza.
An error and 2 walks. Now Stoudemire has to be concerned. Well, how did Piazza hit Clemens? Well, last year, he was very comfortable. This place is going wild now. Piazza with a home run as we flash back. Bang! That's a nice flashback if you're a Mets fan. And now Piazza will face Clemens with the bases loaded.
Piazza struck out his first time up. Inside, ball 1.
He's trying, his first time up, Clemens stayed inside. That's when you try to pitch Piazza. The only thing is, he can get that pitch. And when he gets that, he hits it a long way.
And the 1-0. Fly ball, well hit. Center field, it's deep. Williams to the wall. Grand slam, Piazza. There's a few Mets fans here, too. 4-0 Mets. Piazza's 16th of the year. And that's his 3rd home run already off of Roger Clemens. Go back to those 2 last year.
Well, not only a home run here, but this guy's a great hitter. You are looking at one of the greatest hitters ever to catch in the major leagues.
Fouled back by Robin Ventura.
And we talked earlier in the ballgame, the one difference between last year and this year, Mike Piazza is getting some key hits, and he knew this ball had a shot at going out with the bases loaded. Bernie Williams back to the wall, gone. Grand slam home run for Mike Piazza.
Ventura takes inside. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Met dugout. And the reaction to the grand slam.
Hey, good to see Barry Hayden back, too. Barry in the foreground there. And Ventura gets under 1. Hitting it to right center. Bernie Williams calls off O'Neill. And that's the first out here in the 3rd.
You know, Howie, in the open, we featured the 2 catchers and how important they were going to be in this series. Piazza, we talked about his bat and his throwing. Well, with his bat now, he probably has taken away the Yankees' running game. You'd like to see him do it with his throwing, but his bat accounted for 4 runs. Will the Yankees be as aggressive? Keep in mind last night, Piazza threw the ball well to second base. At least better than he had been throwing.
Todd Zeile takes a fastball up and in. That was the 6th grand slam hit by the Mets this year. And it puts Roger Clemens in a 4-0 hole. The only hit so far for the Mets here in the 3rd inning. And the 1-0 right there. 1 ball, 1 strike. Todd Zeile's parents have been in New York for a little over a week. They were at most of the Mets' recent homestand, and you saw Todd with that video camera going, and his parents making their first trip ever to Yankee Stadium tonight.
Well, it was a great shot of Todd Zeile with that camera because he had the camera focused on a guy who had a tremendous impact on his career. Joe Torre, the manager of the Yankees. He made the decision to switch Todd Zeile to 3rd base.
To the shortstop, Jeter. 2 away. So Zeile has grounded out for the 2nd time. It'll bring up Lenny Harris. So the Met fans with the first chance to be heard tonight as Mike Piazza with the grand slam. So it's 4-0 Mets as Lenny Harris steps in for the 2nd time. He struck out his first time up. From the sound of that crowd when Piazza was rounding the bases, maybe this is an exaggeration, but it sure sounded like at least 1/3 of this place were on their feet cheering. And the 1-0 to Harris. That's popped foul back behind the plate. Jorge Posada hoping for a play, but it's just beyond his reach.
Well, the one thing the Mets have done so far in this ballgame, they have been very, very aggressive. Piazza swinging a bat, hitting a grand slam, but on the bases, Jason Tyner has set a tone running tonight. And that's what the Mets need from Tyner, but that's the guy right there in the middle of the order. We talked about it in the open. He's in the middle of the order, and he has a lot of responsibility on those shoulders.
1-1 to Harris. And he goes after the split. It's 1-2.
But you got to wonder, with one swing of the bat, does he take the running game against away from the Yankees? And their running game is not a great running game, but they've been aggressive lately and have been successful.
Up the middle, Jeter to his left, Harris hustling down the line, and a good pick by Martinez on the short hop. So Clemens settles down to get 3 in a row after Piazza does some big-time damage. 4-0 Mets.
On the hill tonight looking for his 7th win of the season. It was at that very same spot that he made his major league debut. The date, September 15th, 1987, pitching for the Yankees against the Milwaukee Brewers.
Al Leiter, the 21-year-old rookie. Leiter did it. He has struck out the side for a 2nd consecutive inning.
For the New York Mets, and on Wednesday, Park has become a very big tourist stop. A lot of people come out throughout the day to check out those great monuments beyond the outfield wall. By the way, Al's mom, Marie, thinks that major league debut was Al's highlight of his career, as he told us on the pregame show. "Ma, I've got 3 championship rings and a no-hitter." She said, no, it's your major league debut, #1.
And always a thrill to look at Monument Park, although the way you can do it has changed over the years, too, as Leiter throws ball 1 to Derek Jeter. It used to be, with the old configuration of the stadium, when those monuments were on the field, you could leave the stadium. You could walk out by walking around the outfield. and checking out the monuments and then walking out through gates that were in center field. So you could actually leave the ballpark via the playing surface in the old days. Not anymore, though.
You can look at all those numbers retired out there. Number 8.
Number 2, Derek Jeter, takes a strike in the way he's going. He may join all those guys out in Monument Park 10, 15, 20 years from now.
Well, Yogi was number 8. I believe Bill Dickey was also number 8. And number 9, Roger Maris. You know who else wore number 9?
Jeter pulls it off the glove of Ventura. Mora can't come up with it. Derek Jeter's got a base hit. So the Yankees with a leadoff base runner for the first time.
Jeter strained a muscle and was out for a while, and some of the Yankee coaches felt that the way he strained it was a lot of extra batting practice. When they come out early, they hit off the tee, and they figured he might have strained the muscle there. Anyway, by the way, the guy that wore number 9, Joe DiMaggio, that was his first number at the Yankees. Of course, he made number 5 famous.
Bernie Williams with a less conventional baseball number, but still one of the mainstays of this Yankee team that's won 3 World Series in the last 4 years. Now they'll pay attention to Jeter at first.
Well, he talked about Lee Mazzilli working with the Yankees and running. This will telltale sign now. They're down 4-0. Will they send Jeter?
Lee Mazzilli, former Met, first base coach for the Yankees. Taken for a strike, no balls, 1 strike. So the Bronx Bombers, the New York Yankees, you think it's somewhat improbable when you consider what's gone on over the years that the Bronx Bombers would have a couple of Brooklyn kids on the coaching lines. The 0-1 to Williams inside, but that's what they've got here with Lee Mazzilli. Brooklyn on the right, Willie Randolph from Brooklyn on the left. Willie played briefly with the Mets at the end of his career. 1-1 to Williams in the air towards left center. In comes Tyner. He dives and makes the catch. Outstanding play by Jason Tyner. Jeter goes back to first, 1 away.
Boy, that was a good play by Tyner. I thought that ball was going to drop in. Bernie Williams, it looked like he hit the ball up on the bat and muscled the ball in left center field, but watch Tyner go. We've talked about his speed. He can go get him in the outfield. Ooh, a nice play by Tyner. The ball almost slipped out of that webbing, that size of that glove. Good hustle, the dive, and a nice play by young Jason Tyner. And what happens when an outfielder makes a play like that? The pitcher loves to see it.
So Tyner takes a hit away from Williams. Now it's Paul O'Neill who takes low for a ball. O'Neill was struck out by Leiter first time up. So Al facing 2 left-handed batters in the Yankee lineup tonight. O'Neill and Martinez. Got him each first time up. That's the way Al's dominated the left-hand batters all season.
Yeah, this is not a comfortable at bat for Paul O'Neill, but if he makes a mistake and one swing of the bat and he pops the ball over that short porch in right field, I would never take a left-handed hitter out of the middle of my lineup to show respect for a left-handed pitcher. But Paul O'Neill with that high leg kick, the big thing is he's got to get it down.
1 ball, 1 strike to O'Neill.
Talk about Derek Bell, how he's concerned about getting his front foot down when he's hitting, and he is in a horrendous slump. He claims he feels it's because of that front foot. But if you can monitor a guy in a slump, I'll guarantee you the tension in his muscles much greater than when he's hitting the ball hard.
On the outside corner, 1 and 2.
Now look at that front foot. There's Derek Bell, bang, and he's tardy with that swing. The ball's got the foot's got to get down so you can catch up with that ball with the head of the bat. The key is the foot hitting the ground, and then everything goes forward.
1-2 on the way, and O'Neill lifts it in the air, center field. Jason Tyner with, or at least Jay Payton, pardon me, with room. Tagging is Jeter, and the throw not in time.
Good base running.
Good play is right.
Good base running by Jeter. And You know, if you're in the outfield and you get yourself in position every time, you'll take the aggressiveness away from the base runner. When you're catching the ball, you get yourself in a certain position to throw that ball in. We're going to take a look at that play again, the fly ball to the outfield. I see Jeter getting back and hustling, and he just outsmarted Jay Payton and outran the ball to second base. Good hustle by Jeter.
So that brings up Shane Spencer, who struck out his first time up. Jeter gets himself into scoring position because of that hustle. Fastball taken outside. 1 ball, no strikes. Shane Spencer, one of the unexpected heroes in the Yankees' run to the 1998 World Series. He and Ricky Leday have played quite a bit in left field this year. One of the positions where it's been rumored the Yankees may be looking to upgrade. And the 1-0, that cut fastball right in on the hands. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the New York Mets and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the New York Mets. Full house here at Yankee Stadium, although that was not assured until just a couple of days ago. They didn't sell this game out until earlier in the week. All 3 games this weekend now are sellouts. Spencer bounces it foul. Advantage Leiter. 1 ball, 2 strikes. The runs in this game coming on 1 swing of Mike Piazza's bat, with the bases loaded against Roger Clemens in the top of the 3rd. So Leiter treated to a big lead. And the 1-2 on the way, again inside. Al comes inside so consistently to those right-hand hitters that he'll plunk you now and then. In fact, he is tied for the most batters hit by a pitch in the National League. He's already hit 9. Again, he works from inside with a slider, and this time Spencer swings through it, and the side retired. Leadoff base hit by Jeter, nothing more. Leiter helped in part by a nice play in left field by Jason Tyner. 3 in the books in the Bronx. Bernie Williams robbed, and it's 4-0 Mets.
Budweiser blimp right there.
Shutting out the Yankees in the first of those interleague games. 0-1 to Jay Payton, and he fouls it back. Well, the Budweiser blimp and its eye in the sky camera are proud to provide you with these live shots 1,000 feet above New York. And today's game, to all baseball fans, this Bud's for you.
If you ever get a chance to ride in the blimp, it's quite a ride. You should get up there, Howie.
Well, look at that. I mean, already it tells you something. Why do I feel like the honeymooners are coming on when I see that thing? I was going, you could see traffic moving on the Major Deegan. That is rare footage right there. Inside the pay. You know, I came over the Triborough Bridge on the way here today, and that's the only time I traveled that route. And as I came over the Triborough, I remember needing to squeeze to my left to get to the Deegan. And I'm thinking, hey, I had to do that last year. Are they still working on that same project a year later? Holy Max. 1-2, and Payton just does get a piece of it, or does he? Nope. Yeah, he does.
Well, we talked about Jay Payton, how he's starting to swing the bat a lot better. Recently, came up with three home runs, a big one in last night's ball game. Got a base hit his first time up. He stays alive right here. Looked like that splitter, and he was able to get on top of it. It was Jay Payton who out-hit Nomar Garcia-Parra at Georgia Tech.
Bouncing ball right side. Bellinger, short right field. Throws out Payton, 1 down. Well, thanks for watching Subway Series 2000, presented by Empire Blue Cross Blue Shield here on Fox Sports Net. Here's your chance to win tickets to Sunday's game in the Bronx or team merchandise. Call that number right now, 212-465-4140. Leave a voice message. We'll announce the winner of the Subway Series tickets later tonight.
What is it, your house? Leave a voice message?
I was going to say, Fran will get back to you. Just make sure to leave your name, number, and a brief message. Like the sound of the tone. Don't jump the gun now. 0-1 on Melvin Mora. He's in the game because Kurt Abbott jumped the gun a bit on first base on Marty Foster. And then some. Got himself thrown out in the second inning.
Yeah, we're not sure if he got thrown out because he threw his equipment or he threw some words at the first base umpire.
Yeah, the way I've always understood it, if you throw equipment, it's an automatic fine, but that doesn't mean you're thrown out of the game. So
Well,
my guess is that he said something magical.
The words usually follow the helmet. And you just got to be selective.
You don't throw the helmet down in anger and say, hey, great day, nice call, bud. So you got a point. They're generally interconnected, but
You know the words? There's two of them that are magic words. We can't use them right now. But there are two words. When you put them together, that is immediately, you will leave the ball game.
Marty Foster made sure of it. Bobby Valentine looked like he was coming close, too. Marty gave him some rope, though. Outside to Mora, 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Excuse me, Howie. It was clear that Tino Martinez didn't touch Kurt Abbott.
So 2-2 to Mora. Outfield straightaway. 1 down here in the 4th. It's 4-0 Mets. Just off the outside corner. So Mora with a full count. And again, when you consider Mora's speed, and he's batted leadoff before, you know, he almost bats as a leadoff hitter here. Sort of a leadoff preamble to the real guy, Jason Tyner, even though there's 1 out. So Mora does his job, gets aboard. And that'll bring up Jason Tyner, who's been on base twice. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by Aflac. Without it, no insurance is complete. So the blimp showing Manhattan and the rest of New York at a figurative standstill as the Yankees and Mets compete. Jason Tyner fouling the first pitch back.
Well, good speed on first base. And Bobby Valentine has been very aggressive with his base runners tonight. So I wouldn't be surprised if Mora is put in motion. You see Mookie Wilson talking, but he's smart. He talks to the right ear. Get away from Tino Martinez. You don't want Tino listening in.
And Mora back to first.
Posada's a good throwing catcher, but you can still steal with him catching. And he has struggled in this game receiving the ball from Roger Clemens. A lot of times when you're having trouble catching the ball, you're over anxious when a guy is put in motion.
Mora not running, and Tyner fouls the fastball back. It's 0-2. What a big cut at that fastball.
The way Tyner's swinging the bat, he's not intimidated by anybody or anything. This is a big series here at Yankee Stadium. Cookie Rojas flashing signs over. See Mookie on that right ear talking to Melvin Mora. Now you got to be careful. You got to whisper because you don't want Tino listening to you. And he's trying down there.
It'll be an 0-2. And Tyner takes a delayed steal by Mora. Posada's thrown not in time. The delayed steal, and the Mets get another runner in scoring position.
Well, once again, Bobby Valentine putting a runner in motion. And you saw Mookie Wilson whispering into Melvin Mora's ear, trying to stay away from Tino Martinez. And here is the delayed steal. And not only a delayed steal, but you know, Posada come out throwing, and he still outran the ball.
So now it's 1-2, and Tyner takes a breaking ball, which evens the count.
And nobody was fooled on a delayed steal. Mora just outran the baseball.
It's a timing play the Mets work on it every spring. Wait till the ball gets through the hitting zone and then take off. Well, Bobby Valentine describes it. And the 2-2, Tyner protecting away, stays alive.
Well, if you watch Bobby Valentine and his coaches in spring training, this is a well-drilled ball club. Bobby Valentine and his coaches do a lot of teaching in spring training. There's one of his teachers right there, Mookie Wilson. He works with the outfielders and the base runners. Outstanding infield coach, Cookie Rojas. John Stearns worked hard with Mike Piazza.
And Tyner lifts it in the air. Left field should be easy for Shane Spencer. Mora back to second base, 2 away.
And another guy who worked hard down in spring training for a few weeks, Keith Hernandez, worked with Todd Zeal. Well, we talked about Paul O'Neill and Derek Bell, that front foot, and how important it is. A few weeks ago, Jay Payton, when he was struggling, talked to me about how he felt his problem was the front foot, getting it down so the rest of that body can be activated. And Derek Bell feels the same way. He feels he's not comfortable with that front foot and its landing. And you know, not only that front foot, not only getting it down, but Howie, it's interesting. When you get it down, you can't jam it down, because if you jam it down, your head starts to bounce. You have to put it down gently but quickly.
Yeah, you don't want to look like a bobblehead doll at the plate.
No.
That's one of the first things they teach you in Little League.
That's right.
Bobblehead doll. Fastball. 1 ball, 1 strike to Derek Bell.
Got a special day at Shea Stadium coming up with the bobblehead doll. Tom Seaver, bobblehead doll. Now here we're going to take a look at that front foot. You got to get it down, but you can't jam it down. So it's a timing device, and if you don't get it down quickly enough, the ball's by you, even the breaking ball.
Mora leads from second as Clemens steps off.
And you know, today these guys are more aware of the intricacies of swinging the bat than ever before. They're always talking about it. They're watching video about it. And Tom Robson is a very good hitting instructor. Like most teams, teams have good, sound hitting instructors. And they got a lot to work with.
The shade Bell the other way in the outfield. And the 1-1 fouled back.
You saw that pitch right there. It beat him, and it wasn't thrown that hard.
Now let's take a look at Derek Bell's thoughts on the Subway Series. It's our Tri-State Consumer Auto Insurance quote book. Call them right now for your free rate quote. Well, the Subway Series is the bomb, to use the contemporary vernacular. We hope. And the 1-2 on the way. Bounce, left side, pass Brocious. Mora around third. Here comes Spencer's throw to the plate. Safe at the plate. RBI single, Derek Bell. 5-0 Mets.
And this could be a problem for the Yankees. Derek Bell, that can get you out of a slump. A big blow in a ball game like this. He got the ball in the hole between short and third, and that there can loosen you up, relax at the plate. I mean, he was all tied up and was able to pick up a base hit. And you see Cookie Rojas waving Melvin Mora around third base. This is the 5th run of the ball game for the Mets. And it could be a real big one, because the guy who drove it in is really fighting a slump. Posada had to go out for the ball. Mora beats a tag. Another look from the outfield camera. The long throw, and Mora beating the throw. But the key, the guy who got the hit. It wasn't pretty. He muscled it in the hole. But the Mets need this guy. He's the number 2 hitter in the lineup, and they need him to be productive.
Yeah, you might look for him to run here with Alfonso at the plate, but on the first pitch, Fonzie fouls it off to the right side. That'll reach the seats. Consider that Bell, real good speed, and Alfonso, a patient hitter. Hey, we want to remind you about what we told you moments ago about winning tickets to the game on Sunday or team merchandise. We want to correct that phone number at the bottom of the screen. I think we told you 4140 before, so don't bother leaving a message on that guy's machine. Call this number, 212-465-4150. This is the real deal.
You think the other guy can play?
I don't know. Maybe he wants the tickets.
The phone's ringing off the hook.
Alfonso fouls it back, so now it's 0-2.
I don't have any more tickets. Stop bothering me. Guy probably worked all day, was sleeping. It was Howie Rose that gave out that wrong number.
Well, Alfonso behind in the count here, 0-2. Consider we're in the 4th inning. Roger Clemens has already thrown 91 pitches. That's with a 5-0 lead. Bell short lead at first.
A nice block by Posada.
One of the reasons I figured this would be a good spot for Bell to run, because if he gets down to second base, well, they're not going to walk Alfonso to get to Piazza. And Fonzie's such a patient hitter, especially with Derek Bell now feeling perhaps a little more frisky after breaking out of the slump. Good time for him to run, I think.
I would put a guy like Bell in motion. I would put pretty much every base runner in motion now. You got a 5-run league. You might as well try and pad it. really make Clemens upset.
Bell bluffed that time, and now the count goes to 2-2.
You know he's upset about those 2 pitches. Well, first off, he walked a couple batters before the outs hit the grand slam. Piazza boxed up a couple of pitches, and when a catcher boxes up a couple pitches, a pitcher doesn't forget it. There's the big guy. Grand slam home run.
2-2 to Alfonso. Bell not running inside. And isn't this typical Alfonso? He fell behind in the count 0-2 and still found a way to work it full. So now Bell will have an automatic start from first base with 2 outs. Last 59 plate appearances now for Alfonso. He struck out all at once.
If you're a Met fan, you know Clemens can't groove anything to this guy. He'll get you. He'll hit it out.
Martinez now playing behind Bell, who takes off. Payoff pitch, and Alfonso hits it in the air to right field. Easy play for Paul O'Neill. And the side retired. But the Mets had a run here in the 4th inning as Derek Bell with a big hit. He'd been slumping. This will help get him out of it. 5-0 Mets. All right, back to our Aflac trivia question. 3 years ago, interleague play began. Who hit the first long ball in this series between the Mets and the Yankees? Let's go back to June of '97.
Bernard Gilkey. Before the laser surgery, the eye laser surgery, hits the home run off David Wells. And the bobblehead dolls are agreeing. It's Bernard Gilkey, June 17th, 1997.
One of those dolls happy, the other one with a nervous twitch. As the Mets with a 5-0 lead. Posada first ball hitting, and he's thrown out by Robin Ventura.
That's one thing now Al Leiter has to do is just throw that ball over the plate. He has that natural ball movement. Make the Yankees hit that first pitch. Utilize your defense. Get off that field and get your offense going again. Don't pitch from behind. Don't give the Yankees any motivation by walking a couple batters. Make them hit the ball to get on. You know, Al Leiter now, they're waiting for something to come out the field. Last inning, we were talking about that telephone number, and it was a problem. We gave out the wrong telephone number. I remember Mel Allen, who I worked with on Sports Channel, telling me when he was working here at Yankee Stadium, they crossed some wires up. And you could hear a conversation between a gentleman and his girlfriend or wife. They're having an argument. It was going out over the air. And Mel's voice, they could hear Mel, and only in their house he was doing the play-by-play. Guy said, will you shut Mel Allen up?
Obviously a Dodger fan or a Giant fan.
How about argue with somebody? You hear Mel in your telephone.
Tino Martinez grounded to short his first time up. You know, you bring up Mel Allen. So many of the players who came in here for the first time. Kurt Abbott was talking about it this afternoon. Thinking about actually walking into the place where all of those great players perform. That's a little bit how I feel about this booth, you know, or this area.
Yeah.
This is where Mel Allen worked.
Oh, Mel Allen was a genius. I had the luxury of working with him. You know, Phil Rizzuto was also a great announcer here in New York.
Martinez hits one deep to right field. Derek Bell, warning track wall, and he can't make the play. He lost that ball, and Martinez is standing at second. Jay Payton threw it back in. Derek Bell took the great circle route.
You know what? He had to lose the ball, because if he didn't, that was a bad, misjudged fly ball. You know what? He didn't get back to the wall. He misjudged that ball. He didn't lose it. He misjudged it. He glided back rather than busting it back to the wall, and then at the wall making the adjustment. Keep in mind that short porch in right field. Martinez thought that ball might carry out, but it was clearly misjudged by Derek Bell. That ball should have been caught. Martinez thought he had a home run. How about Martinez jogging down the baseline?
So not a pretty play from either angle.
No.
And Jim Leyritz will be the batter now with Martinez in scoring position. To the shortstop, Mora. Quick throw retires Leyritz. On to third goes Martinez, but the Mets pick up their second out here in the 4th inning.
Yeah, I was talking to Don Zimmer and Willie Randolph. Chris Chambliss was down by the batting cage before the game, and they're talking about, you know, it drives them crazy when they hear an announcer or somebody in the ballpark saying that guy really hustled down the base path. I said, you're supposed to. You know, one thing you're given, you know, throwing the ball is tough, catching the ball is tough. It takes ability. Hitting the ball takes ability. Running it out doesn't take any ability.
Scott Brocious drew a walk his first time up. Yankees trying to deliver a run with 2 outs here in the second inning, and the Mets leading 5-0. Leiter throws strike 1 to Brocious. He went on the disabled list the first week of the year with a strained muscle in the rib cage. One of several Yankees to miss some time this year on the DL. Derek Jeter, another. He just came off a couple of weeks ago. Derek had an abdominal sprain. No ball, it's 2 strikes.
Well, Brocious, we talked about him earlier. He's had up years and down years, and tough for him to put together a few years together in solid form. Look at 304 in 96, 97, 203, back up to 398, 247 in 99, 246 in the year 2000. Right now with Yankees since 1998. A very good defensive third baseman.
No balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Leiter deal. And the fastball just missed the outside corner. Might have been up a bit. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Although we saw Mike Van Vliet last night, who was working the plate in the Mets-Orioles game, actually call a couple of strikes above the belt. I wanted to go down there and shake his hand. Imagine that. Guy who interpreted the strike zone properly.
I mean, how would you know if a guy's a good high ball hitter today? They can take it. It's a ball.
1-2 to Brocious. And the fastball up and in. The Leiter trying to bear down here. And Strand Martinez by rights. Leiter should be out of the inning. Martinez's double was certainly catchable by Derek Bell, who misplayed it. Leiter's thrown a couple of ground ball outs in the inning. He's 2-2 here. Scott Brocious. And the pitch on the way. Little number. It's going to be a tough play. Piazza can't get it anywhere nearly in time, and Piazza's lucky that that ball stayed on the infield. Especially in a 5-0 game, which now becomes 5-1. I don't think Mike needed to even make a throw there. But Mike was lucky that Todd Zeile kept it in front of him, because he could throw a ball down the right field line that way.
Well, he shouldn't have thrown the ball. He really, unless he can straighten up and really get some mustard on the ball, tough play. You know, your body's heading to third base, and when you throw a ball sidearm, it's going to do all kinds of movement. Now, you saw, as you look at Al Leiter's brother reacting to this ball, but the big thing was Todd Zeile blocking the ball.
Man, you know, if you had never seen that man before, nobody would have to tell you he was Al Leiter's brother.
Yeah. Well, Todd Zeile, as a former catcher, blocked that ball, did a good job keeping the ball in the infield.
Clay Bellinger takes down and in. The only difference between Jack and Al Leiter, at least in that instance, was that Jack wasn't dancing around in the seat using body English to try to get that ball to first base in time.
It's tough to do it when you're in the stands.
I know.
See, you're a lot more, you know what, I shouldn't say that. You know what, when you have your brother on the mound in a big league game, the guy in the stands, well, he might be relaxing. We showed you the Bud Blip before.
He's okay. And the 1-0 now to Bellinger.
That's what happens when your brother's pitching, trust me. Or your son.
Oh, he's not jumping around.
That's right.
Dave Wallace going to jump around.
And when he came in the ballpark, he said, this will relax me, but I do know when to say when, as Bobby Valentine's going out, I should say Dave Wallace, to relax Al Leiter.
Dave Wallace has changed his stripes over the years. Dave Wallace grew up in Waterbury, Connecticut, which is a little closer to New York than Boston is, but his household was split right down the middle. 4 Wallaces growing up. 2 were Yankee fans, including Dave, and 2 were Red Sox fans. So Dave Wallace in the house that he came to love so much. Hey, don't forget about those family ticket packs. Call 718-507-TIXX and ask about it. You get 4 Mets tickets, 4 hot dogs, 4 sodas, copy of Mets magazine too. 2-1 now to Clay Bellinger.
You mentioned Dave Wallace in Waterbury. I had the opportunity to play a couple months in Waterbury in the minor leagues. Nice little town. And there was a famous baseball player that came out of Waterbury. They made a movie about him. Fear Strikes Out.
Oh, yeah, Dave's talking about him, Jimmy Pearsall. 3 balls, 1 strike to Bellinger. In fact, I was in the ballpark here about 1961 or 62 when Jimmy Pearsall was playing center field for the Cleveland Indians. A couple of fans came out of the bleachers. Pearsall didn't wait for help. He went after those fans.
Yeah. And Rocky Calavito did it here at Yankee Stadium.
Bellinger trying to do it for the Yankees now. It's 5-1 Mets. 2 outs here in the 5th. Softly hit Ventura in to make the catch, and the side retired. So the Yankees get a run. There were 2 hits. They leave 1. Bellinger pops up. Subway Series 2000 being presented by Empire.
Here right now is going to go down as the greatest hitting catcher who played the game. There's a guy right behind him out there in Texas who's an outstanding hitter, Pudge Rodriguez. And there's a bullet in the left field. So Piazza picking up his 2nd hit of the ball game off Roger Clemens, and the Mets have their leadoff man on here in the top of the 5th.
This is why he's so tough. You know, he's in a situation with 2 strikes. Where do you work him? You work him away, he takes the ball, you can hit it with power the other way. Now he pulls one into left field. And our Delta Airlines upcoming schedule tonight shows you 2 more easy commutes for the Mets. And then a little bit tougher job as they'll go out to the Midwest to play the Cubs. Don't forget Geico Mets on deck, preceding all games on Fox Sports Net.
And Robin Ventura fouling off the first pitch. Ventura in this ball game 0 for 2, grounded out and flying out. You know, Howie, you talk about that grand slam, only 2 grand slams off Roger Clemens in his career. There is a Hall of Fame pitcher who never gave up a grand slam, Jim Palmer.
Now Piazza's already got 1 tonight. But a good piece of hitting there with 2 strikes on it. Take Clemens into left field.
This ball's bounced back to Clemens. He doesn't even look at second base. Piazza was running to second. He goes to first for the sure out.
Usually, you know, you say a good piece of hitting when a guy goes the other way. 2-strike situation, protecting the outside of the plate. Mike hits it so well to the opposite field, that's not a surprise. So here Clemens busts him inside, and Piazza's so strong. He's able to get around and muscle the ball into left field. That's how you hit .330 for your career. I mean, how do you get him out? What's the formula?
Well, the best way to pitch him, and he knows it, is throw him hard stuff in. But if he's able to get on top of a ball that misses just a little bit out over the plate, he's going to crush it to left field. And the one thing that Piazza does, if you look at the stats throughout his career, he makes contact. Piazza on second base. 1-0 on the hitter Todd Zeile. Zeile 0 for 2 in his ball game, but he's been on fire with that bat lately. He's grounded out twice in this game. Yankee Stadium, the Mets and the Yanks. Full house tonight, full house scheduled for tomorrow, and another full house anticipated for Sunday night. Up high on Todd Zeile, 2-0.
So how much have the Mets missed John Olerud? Well, statistics don't tell you everything, but look at what Zeile's done. Just about right there in terms of average. Far more power, 10 more ribbies. John will have a better on-base percentage, and Olerud is better defensively, to be sure. But it's not like there's been a huge gap.
No, but Zeile has done a nice job at first base. John Olerud did a fine job playing with the Mets. He wanted to go to Seattle. The pressure was on Todd Zeile. And boy, I thought he handled it with such class. Made a few errors early in the year. Handled it very well. Here's a strike. He said, I want to come into New York. I had an opportunity to interview him during the off-season on our Hot Stove Report. And he said it was important for him to come into New York. He felt, you know, he lives in Southern California. He would take advantage of Manhattan. And he and his family live in Manhattan. Takes a subway out to Shea Stadium pretty much every day.
Derek Jeter of the Yankees lives in Manhattan.
There's a base hit into center field. Here comes Piazza. Williams will go to second, and the Mets have another run. It's 6-1 Mets. Todd Zeile, a single and an RBI. RBI for Todd Zeile, number 42.
Well, Roger Clemens is going to the Hall of Fame one day. That's a lot, but he has been no mystery to the Mets over the last couple of years. The Mets beat him twice last year, and they now have a 6-1 lead tonight. Clemens got that ball up and out over the plate. So Todd Zeile, a nice easy swing, just goes with it and hits it through the middle. Nothing fancy. Zeile not over anxious, and that's what happens when you're in a good hitting groove rather than being anxious or lunging.
Zeal with the lead off first base, and the batter, Lenny Harris.
I'm sorry, Fran. I think of Derek Bell when he was going well earlier in the year. So many balls he hit. We know about the ones to right field through the middle because he had that nice, easy swing. That's what Zeal's doing now.
I understand when you're in a slump, the best thing to do, try to hit the ball right back to the pitch. Harris takes down low, 1-1. And the reason they tell you that is you'll wait longer. The longer you can wait as a hitter, the better off you are. You get a better look at the ball. You're not hitting the ball off the end of the bat. If you have a choice between hitting the ball off the end of the bat and getting jammed, get jammed. You're a lot better off. You can muscle the ball into the outfield. It's 1-2 on Harris. But the longer you can wait, and that's the secret to Mike Piazza. He is so strong. He takes such a small stride. He's able to wait longer than most hitters. And as Howie mentioned, he just got jammed, but he hit the ball hard in the left field because he waits long on the ball. Swung on and missed. Harris goes down. 2 outs here in the top of the 5th inning. And now we'll take a look at our Jeep game summary.
It has a decidedly Mets flavor to it midway through this game. Mike Piazza, the big hit so far. His 11th career grand slam, only the 2nd ever given up by Clemens. Derek Bell trying to get out of a slump, singled 1 home. Brocious got 1 back for the Yankees, but Zeal got that run right back for the Mets here in the 5th. And Zeal, along with those two, have become pretty much inseparable.
I'll tell you, when you're around the batting cage and they're getting on each other, it's pretty humorous. Here's a strike to Jay Payton. And I mean, Zeal and I think those guys started. So then Piazza has to get involved with it because Piazza's pretty quiet.
Yeah, but when he gets going, he's not going to get cheated when it comes to that stuff.
He didn't get cheated swinging that bat today. A grand slam and a single. The Mets have a comfortable 6-1 lead on Roger Clemens. And Jay Payton is taking much better rips. Even when he makes his outs, he's got that real aggressive swing. And again, you talk about being able to wait on the ball, and we talked about his front foot getting down to get everything going. But he is awfully strong. Gotta believe before it's over, Bobby Valentine's gonna fall in love with Jay Payton. Just watching this kid in the outfield, watching him swing the bat, and I'm sure Bobby Valentine's got an open mind towards Jay Payton. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Fouled off. Good pitch by Clemens. Roger Clemens coming into tonight's action 4-5. And Howie, I gotta believe that the Yankees and Joe Torre are concerned about Roger Clemens.
Well, you'd have to be. I mean, as we mentioned earlier, he's in one of those good start, bad start funks. But, you know, he's going to be 38 years of age this summer. August 4th is when he'll turn 38. And even though pitchers can pitch longer than perhaps earlier in their careers, I just wonder how much gas is left in Clemens' tank. I mean, the Yankees have not seen the Roger Clemens, nor do they have a right to expect to see the Clemens in his Boston Red Sox prime since he's been here. Remember, this is a guy who's throwing 115 pitches now early in the 5th inning.
Oh, he's a workhorse. And so is Leiter. Leiter throws a lot of pitches. It's been a tough night for Clemens. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Payton puts it in play. Payton can fly. And he's got himself an infield hit. All you can do is pick it up and take a bite out of it, because if he hits a ball like that 10 times, he's going to have 9 infield hits.
So one of his base hits hit hard right through the middle. This they classify more as a swinging bunt. But a smart play here by Scott Brocious. Might as well just put it in your pocket, because he has no chance. And that's in some contrast to the play Piazza made in the bottom of the 4th inning, when he had virtually no chance to throw out Scott Brocious at first base on a little swinging bunt. And Piazza was lucky he didn't throw that ball away. Brocious got credit for an RBI single.
And the throw to first base, and back easily is Jay Payton. Payton's he doesn't have a ceiling on his talent. He's got power. He's hit for average. He has been extremely impressive in the outfield. And watch him get back to first base. Mookie Wilson, I'm sure, was screaming at the top of his lungs.
And Posada will do that. He'll throw behind the runner. That is not an aberration for Jorge Posada. He likes to throw.
And the 1-0 pitch, and there's a broken bat, flies into the stands, and Clemens makes the play, flips to first base. Hopefully nobody got hurt in the stands. Half of a bat flew into the stands. And here comes Mike Piazza scoring the 6th run of the ball game for the Mets. After 4.5, it's 6-1 Mets. About that ride, I remember my first manager in baseball, Elmer Vallow, who played 20 years in the big leagues. And what a motivator he was. After I hit about 110, I needed some motivation. The following year, he told me the stride is so important. It's got to be soft, and Jeter's employing that soft stride. And like you said, if you jam that foot down, you're the bobbing head doll.
That does it, huh?
That does it. That's how you get yourself a doll.
Like pushing buttons.
Here's the 1-1 pitch. Foul out of play. Well, if you haven't experienced the atmosphere in the Subway Series, you got to try and do it.
Well, the Mets have taken some of the atmosphere away from this setting tonight. I mean, the Mets fans have been the ones doing all the celebrating to this point. Once they got that 4-0 lead, things got pretty quiet here.
Yeah. Met fans sitting with Yankee fans, that can be uncomfortable, unless they're real close. Met fan in front of a Yankee fan.
You know
right
what,
there.
Fran, I'll tell you what, I sense that there's a different dynamic to the rivalry as far as the fans go now between the Mets and the Yankees than there was when I was growing up in the 60s and the early 70s. I think it's more venomous now. And I think that preceded the beginning of interleague play. It just seems to me, and I may be wrong here, but it seems to me that there's more of a preoccupation on the part of both sides from a fan standpoint with the other team. I'm just thinking back to last fall when the Mets won a couple of big games at Shea Stadium in the playoffs.
Jeter hits the ball in the gap, left center field. Pate goes over. He's not able to catch the ball in the air, but he comes up throwing, and Jeter is held to a single. It seemed to me that ball died as Payton was going to his right. But boy, is he quick. And he came off that ground and really kept, I can't believe it, he kept Jeter at first base, and Jeter usually will bust it out of the batter's box.
Well, again, Jake Payton using his speed here almost makes this play, but he clearly traps the ball. And Jeter, who had taken a big turn at first base, held up. Jeter tried to sell it. And he just about had Leiter, so he did.
He did. He
sailed.
But deep down his heart, he knew he was wrong. So Jeter's on first base with nobody out. And Bernie Williams takes a strike.
But just to finish the point I was making a moment ago, Fran, when the Mets won a couple of big games in the postseason last year, fans were leaving Shea Stadium shouting things about the Yankees. You know, we're not in the ballpark and we're not necessarily relevant to the situation. I'm sure the same stuff goes on here. That preoccupation, at least to my recollection, did not exist during the 60s and 70s. I don't think Mets fans worried that much about the Yankees. I don't think Yankees fans worried that much about the Mets. That's all changed now.
I have never, ever seen it in New York since I've been in New York. The feverish atmosphere that these two teams have created. Up the middle, and Alfonso didn't have to do that. He could have flipped it with his, taking the ball out of his glove and flipped to Melvin Mora and get the sure out at second base. Rarely does he make a mistake, a mental mistake.
He and Ray Ordonez do this stuff before games. Certainly they did it a lot in spring training, almost like they're playing Pepper. But you got to know the situation. The Mets have a 6-1 lead here. All you want out of this is 1 out. So Edgardo Alfonso acting a little too quickly here in thinking, boy, maybe we could turn a flashy double play. There's no need to worry about a double play here. You got a 5-run lead. Just get 1 out. But that play cost the Mets an out potentially, and now the Yankees with 2 on and nobody out.
But we've seen him successful in situations like that. You don't want to take away his athletic ability by talking to him about that, and Cookie won't as Paul O'Neill takes a strike. Cookie Rojas likes it when they take a chance. And you know what? When you live by the sword, you're going to be dying by the sword. That's part of the game. But you rarely see Alfonso make a mistake, offensively or defensively. This is a big at-bat for O'Neill. 0-1. You hear the Yankee fans coming alive. Leiter misses outside, so it's 1-1. We've talked about how tough Leiter has been on left-handers throughout his career, and especially this year.
They were batting just 121 against him coming in. And the lefties in this game 1 for 3. Martinez with a double in the 4th inning, which was a fly ball that should have been caught.
It's 1 ball and 2 strikes on Paul O'Neill.
So with a 1-1 count, Leiter came upstairs to Paul O'Neill.
Threw it right by him. We saw him strike O'Neill out on a nasty slider last time up. O'Neill 0 for 2, a strikeout and a flyout. There's a fastball out over the plate. O'Neill driving that ball to deep left field. Jeter tagging. Tyner throwing to second. Good base running by the Yankees. Real good base running. Jeter, like Alfonso, rarely makes a mistake on the baseball field. So Jeter moving to third, Williams to second, and only 1 out.
You know what? When you see that play made by Jeter and Bernie Williams, and it's just good, sound, fundamental baseball, it makes you wonder why you don't see it more often. I would say at least 50% of the time, if not more, you'll see runners go halfway there and wind up retreating back to their original base.
Because that's the way they're taught. It's funny. You're taught when the ball goes up in the air, you know, go halfway in a situation like that, then go back to second base. But today, these guys are better athletes. They think better. And a guy like Jeter especially, or Alfonso, and they know I'm going back to second. And we saw Jeter earlier go back to first and tag up.
But I see Jeter recognized immediately that ball was going to stay in the ballpark. So the smart thing to do is tag up and get to third base. And taking a cue from Jeter, Bernie Williams did the same thing at first base.
And now it's a different situation because there's only 1 out. And you don't have a force play. So they eliminate that double play ground ball, and Shane Spencer's the batter. He struck out twice in this ball game. He's 0 for 2, but there's no force play because Jeter and Bernie Williams wisely advanced on a fly ball out to left field.
And by doing that, not only are they in scoring position, but the Mets with a 5-run lead, they're going to play the infield back.
Yeah,
so now a ground ball, you could score a run with an out.
And they call it in baseball chipping away. There's a high fly ball left field. Tyner calling for it. He makes the grab, and Jeter, who hustled to third base, hustled a run for the Yankees. Now Bernie Williams holding on at second. But an interesting scene out there. See, Payton's the center fielder. Tyner has been taught as a center fielder to take charge. While here, he's got to give way to Jay Payton in center field.
So the smart base running of Derek Jeter leads to a run against Al Leiter, the second that he's given up tonight on our New York Marriott Marquis pitching matchup. New York Marriott Marquis is Broadway's biggest hit. The biggest hit has come off of Clemens. That's been the grand slam by Piazza. So it's now a 6-2 Met lead as the teams have scored single runs, top and bottom of each of the last 2 innings.
Full house, Yankee Stadium, the Mets and the Yankees. This town has had a fever pitch for baseball for a couple years because of these 2 organizations. As Posada takes the strike, 0-1. The Yankees world champions last year, but there was as much or more interest in the Mets as they pursued the wild card in the National League. All kinds of excitement. The Yankees were more of a methodical team last year, mowing down the opponents. And the 0-1 pitch to Posada. There's a strike. 0-2. It's been a tough night for Posada. He grounded out twice. That's been running with him behind the plate. He does have a good throwing arm. Now, unfortunately for him, he didn't play every single game or the bulk of the games when Joe Girardi was here because some of the pitchers like to pitch for Joe Girardi. But Al Leiter's fine with Mike Piazza. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Popped up. And they'll go out of play. You know, it's funny, Howie, when you look at all the positions on the field, the one position where a take-charge personality can get you in the lineup is behind the plate. And I don't buy it. A guy like Posada, who's quiet but has a lot of talent, you're going to win with him. He's got talent.
Mike Piazza's quiet.
Yeah, but you know what? If Mike couldn't hit the way he hit, you know, the pitchers say, you know, I like this guy that takes charge. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Popped up. It's playable. Derek Bell makes the grab. And reminder, the Subway Series 2000 is presented by Empire Blue Cross Blue Shield. More choices from out of the blue, and there's the
To left field, to center field, and now to right field.
So Tyner leading off first base, the batter Derek Bell. Bell with a base hit. We talked about his slump to see if it helps him come out of the slump. We check Tyner at first base. Got to believe Bobby Valentine is going to send him. Derek Bell is looking down at Cookie Rojas. Bell struck out. He's walked. Scored a run. RBI single. Check Tyner again. 6-2, the Mets on top of the Yankees. 8 hits for the Mets, 6 for the Yanks. Bobby Valentine flashing no signs. Derek Bell with 7 home runs and 27 RBI, but he has been struggling. Tyner with a big lead. And the ball goes into the stands. How about that? Tyner diving back into first base. The ball into the stands. That's a dilemma for anybody when the stands are that close.
Now, this is the way the game has gone all night for Roger Clemens. A poor throw, which gets Tyner down to second base. Mets have had the leadoff man on in 4 of the first 6 innings. And from that point, Clemens has labored.
And you know what, Howie, in a situation like this, I know the middle of the order is coming up. There's nobody out. I wouldn't take this kid's aggressiveness away. If he can pick up a pitch and steal third, go ahead. As Derek Bell takes ball 1. Now, earlier in the ball game, we saw Derek Bell trying to get Tyner over to third base. Couldn't do it. Struck out. If you really want him over and you don't feel comfortable with the bat in your hand, then just push the ball to the right side. That'll get him over. Inside. And it's funny because when a pitcher knows you're trying to get the runner over, he pitches you in.
I think if I'm Derek Bell with a 4-run lead, I'm not worried about playing little ball here. You got to be feeling good about yourself after coming up with an RBI single. Swing the bat. Don't worry about the right side here.
Well, the only reason I would think about pushing the ball, it's up to him, though. It's not Bobby Valentine would leave it up to Derek Bell. It depends on how he feels at the plate. 2-1 on Derek Bell. If you feel real uncomfortable, you got to take it upon yourself to let the manager know by pushing the ball over there.
Well, Derek Bell pulled this one just past Scott Brocious at third base. Melvin Mora came around to score. That was Bell's last time up in the 4th inning. So is there a carryover? Perhaps. Doesn't even have to be from one at-bat to the very next. But it looked like Bell on that 2-0 pitch was trying to go to the right side.
So it's 2-1. Roger Clemens looking in for the sign. Jorge Posada doing the catching tonight. Ball inside on Bell. 3-1. Now this is a great pitch for Derek Bell. You get to get the right side here. If you're going to swing away, just try to drill it. Mel Stottlemyre looking on. 3-1 on Bell. Hard hit ball, fair ball. Tyner should score. Bell on his way to second base to throw. Not in time. So Derek Bell picking up a double and an RBI, and the Mets now lead the Yanks 7-2. Are we watching Derek Bell come out of his slump? 2 hits in tonight's game.
Well, Mookie Wilson's pumping him up. Is it too early to say Bell is back? Well, Derek's mom certainly appreciates what he's done. They are very close, Derek and his mom. Justine is her name. And she continues to enjoy the work of her son, who has 2 RBI hits tonight. What if she calls him Yo? Right on the chalk. And down the right field line.
How about Tino Martinez saying it's foul?
Poor umpiring work by Tino. And good hitting by Derek Bell. So he's picked up 2 ribbies tonight. He now has 28 on the year. And the signs are that Derek Bell is starting to come out of it.
Well, he stayed positive throughout the slump. Keep in mind now, coming into tonight's action, Atlanta with a 4.5-game lead over the Mets, so the Mets are making up ground now. The Yankees leading the Red Sox by a half game in the East in the American League. So both teams here in New York playing top-notch baseball. And there's a strike to Edgardo Alfonzo. Fonzie 0 for 2. Walk, fielder's choice. Slide out. First of a 3-game series here at the stadium. Inside to Fonzie. 1 ball and 1 strike. Fonzie checking in with a .349 average right now. 11 home runs and 45 RBIs. He'll be followed by Mike Piazza. There's a drive to center field. Bernie Williams going back, looking up. Home run! How about that? Fonzie now has 12, and the Mets are hammering here at the stadium.
Whatever Mel Stottlemyre told Roger Clemens when he went to the mound just before Alfonzo came up didn't work. Clemens looked by that point to be out of gas. And right now, Joe Torre is going to go to the pump and make a change. So Edgardo Alfonzo with his 12th home run of the year. And the Mets with a 3-run inning have now scored in 4 straight innings. Tyner got it going. And Alfonzo has kept it going.
And listen to this crowd here at the stadium. So the fans expressing their displeasure as Roger Clemens leaves the ball game. A pitching change for the Yanks. The Mets have a 7-run lead, and this call for the bullpen has been brought to you by AT&T. Get local and long distance together by calling 1-800-ATT-4ALL.
The Mets, Piazza's was crushed. Alfonso's hit just as well. Clemens knew it, so did Fonzie. Deep left center, and that delivered 2 more. It's 9-2 Mets. Todd Erdos, the new pitcher for the Yankees, and he faces Mike Piazza.
Todd's happy about this. He's calling the ball game to face Mike Piazza. He's got a grand slam and a single. Piazza takes the ball. Hey, by the way, congratulations, Joey Falicaro. You just won a Coors Light hat and a Fox Sports Net t-shirt. Joey, you are now eligible for a grand prize drawing of a luxury suite at a Mets game for you and 9 friends. Hope you get all 9. Fans, stay tuned for more contest details, and you could be a winner, too. Piazza hits the base. Brocious can't get the handle, and Piazza now has 3 hits in this game.
I don't know if there needed to be any more signs that this just looks like the Mets night. When Mike Piazza pulls one down to third and it hits the bag, well, you have to start thinking everything is going right. It certainly has so far. This ball might well have gotten past Brocious anyway. Once it caromed off that bag, there was no chance for Brocious.
Well, that was a great shot, how long he can wait. When you're that strong and you can wait that long, wow. And he's got a good eye. He makes contact. Robin Ventura takes the ball.
Funny thing is, it might have cost the Mets a base. If Brocious doesn't get to this ball, it might roll down the line for an extra base hit. Talk about waiting.
Short stride, short stroke. He's so strong. He waits as long or longer than anybody in the game. Ventura takes the ball. Ted Williams always talked about waiting as long as you can. And by the way, mentioning Ted Williams, Mike Piazza told me the other day the biggest influence in his life was Ted Williams. He met him, Ted worked with him, but he read his book, and he rereads his book. There's a 2-0 pitch. And there's a ground ball to second. They flip the short for 1 over to first. A 4-6-3 double play. Taylor made a pitcher's delight. You see Mel Stoudemire looking on. Clemens knocked out of the ball game. The Mets have a 9-2 lead. Look at those numbers, Howie.
Well, Roger Clemens lost twice last year, and he certainly is on the hook again tonight. That earned run average, well over 13. Of course, in the 1986 World Series, you go back to that 6th game at Shea Stadium when the Red Sox gave him an early lead, and he couldn't hold on. And the sight of Clemens biting that towel in anticipation of a 3rd out that never came.
Well, Todd Zeile in his ball games 1 for 3. He takes a fastball for a strike. It's 0-1. Zeile now at the 11 home runs and 42 RBIs. So Fonzie going deep here in the 6th. If you're a Met fan, it's been a wild night here at Yankee Stadium. 7-run lead. Matt Franco out on deck. 1-1 pitch, swung on and missed. 1 ball and 2 strikes. So Jason Tyner set the tone in the first with a double. But then the man who threw the knockout blow and changed the complexion of this ball game was Mike Piazza in the 3rd, hitting a grand slam. Zeile fouling the ball back. And what it did was it was a punch that hit the Yankees hard, because it kind of takes away their running game. Unless you have a great running game where you just put everybody in motion. But the Yankees, although they've been successful lately in stealing bases, with a 4-run lead, it kind of slows them down a little bit. So all Joe Torre can do is talk to Don Zimmer. And this baby's not over yet. We're in the 6th inning. The Mets 9, the Yankees 2. And Zeile takes down low. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs.
Well, he's got to be loving life right about now with a 7-run lead in his pocket. Now Leiter will go to the mound in the last of this inning, up at least 9-2.
Swung and missed. That'll do it for Todd Zeile. But 3 runs have scored here in the 6th inning. Al Leiter's got a 7-run lead. Edgardo Alfonso goes deep over the center field wall. And our Subway Series 2000 is presented by Empire Blue Cross Blue Shield. More no strikes. It's all quiet here at Yankee Stadium. Al Leiter has quieted their bats. There's a strike. 2-1. And the 2-1 pitch, swung on and missed. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Well, you know, you think of what the Yankees had in Don Mattingly and how they wondered how they'd ever replace him. Well, they certainly have done all right with Tino Martinez, who's driven in, pardon me, well over 100 runs, 5 straight years, all 4 with the Yankees.
He pops it up. Very playable for Edgardo Alfonso.
Mets fans, that MasterCard family ticket pack will get you 4 Mets tickets, 4 hot dogs, 4 sodas, and a copy of Mets Magazine, which has Fran's picture in it, too, all for one low price. Call 718-507-TIXX and ask about the MasterCard family ticket pack.
I'm talking about pictures. One time when I was a player in Kansas City, as you look at Jim Leiter, it takes inside ball 1. They did a cover story in the Sunday section of the newspaper, the Sunday magazine, and they took a picture and they told me to keep my mask on. That's a problem.
I know the feeling.
Fouled off 1-1 on Jim Leiter.
I've heard Happy Halloween all my life. What are you worried about? Face for radio, all that stuff. You had an excuse. You were catching.
Without the mask.
Yeah.
1-1 on Leiter. Mets 9, Yankees 2. Leiter pulls the ball foul. So it's 1-2 on Jim Leiter.
I got a kick out of Mike Piazza talking about masks, explaining to me why he likes the conventional mask better than the hockey-style Coley mask. He said, you know, I said, was it a tough adjustment wearing the other one? He says, yeah, you know what the biggest thing was? I love to chew gum, and I can't chew it with that thing.
That's important when you're a baseball player. Up high, to Leiter.
I mean, I said, well, does it bother you much when you have to fling the mask in a hurry, chasing a foul pop? He goes, no, that's no big deal. It's the gum. So it all comes down to a little spearmint or doublemint or whatever to get you through a game.
It's 2-2 on Jim Leiter. 1 out. Swung on and fouled off. In fact, in the clubhouse, you pick yourself up some bazooka, which is in the clubhouse, some dentine, anything, and go out there. In fact, it's funny when you chewing tobacco is a big thing. And really, it should be outlawed, and baseball is trying to eliminate it. But I thought when they would take gum and put the tobacco, roll the gum into, oh, it's disgusting. If tobacco tasted that good, you wouldn't need the gum. Fouled off down the right field line and out of play. But how does a catcher put that water tobacco in there years ago and catch? But see, Jim Leiter is chewing that gum.
Right, most popular guy in Major League clubhouses, Bazooka Joe.
Look at that. You see Mike Piazza chewing the bazooka, the dentine. All the players, Bobby Valentine chews it. Up high, the managers chew gum, I'm sure, to relieve the tension. There it is.
Sunflower seeds have taken over too in the last 10 or 15 years.
That doesn't relieve the tension. It's the gum. Sugarless, of course. There's strike 3 for Jim Leiter. So Leiter is out. We told you the Mets have a 7-run lead. Let's go downstairs to Matt Lachlan. Matty?
All right, guys, thank you very much. Al Leiter pitching a fine game. He's got his twin sister, Alexia Dunkley, watching, and we've been watching Jack, his oldest brother, watching younger brother pitch. And Alexia, it's got to be pretty exciting to be sitting here watching your twin brother pitch in Yankee Stadium, where it all began for him.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Were you here that first night when he pitched against Milwaukee?
Unfortunately not. I was not here.
So you were listening on the radio, you were checking out the action?
I believe if way back when he pitched for the Yankees, I was probably watching when it was televised, yeah.
All right, well, Al has retired the side here. We'd like to talk to Jack, but he got out of the inning too quick, Jack. We're sorry, but they've been kind of looking at each other across the diamond.
This one wins the ball game as Alfonso comes around with a winning run in the bottom of the 9th inning. Matt Franco delivering the hit that beat the Yankees 9-8.
I'm sure Matt has video of that ball game at Shea Stadium last year. We have if you're a Met fan, a great game tonight. It's 9-2. The Mets on top of the Yankees. Now back in with the play-by-play. Howie Rowe.
All right, Fran, Matt Franco first ball hitting as he pinch hits for Lenny Harris. So what's basically happening here is Bobby Valentine is splitting the designated hitter chores tonight. Harris has had 3 at-bats, and now Matt Franco flies to center as a pinch hitter for the designated hitter. Take a look at the damage the Mets have done in our Toyota in-game box score.
Jason Tyner checked in tonight with 2 for 4. How about Derek Bell? As he come out of his slump, 2 for 3. Alfonso 1 for 3, a dinger, and a grand slam home run off the bat. And Mike Piazza has been a big night for the Met bats, and Al Leiter has quieted down the Yankee bats. That's our Toyota in-game box score. And let's not forget Jay Payton with 2 more hits.
Yep, single to center and a swinging bunt for a base hit. That was in the 5th inning. We'll topper up the third baseline in addition to a ground ball to second base. Todd Erdo's doing the pitching now for the Yankees. A little too young to remember what I would think would be that lady's first visit. Young lady.
Are those batting gloves?
Doubt it. 1 ball, 1 strike now on Payton. It's an awfully young age to be bringing a child to the ballpark, huh?
With batting gloves.
Well, at least she's in the mood, swing of things.
Well, Jay Payton's been in the swing of things. A home run in last night's game. He's getting that average up now. He's over 250. Hit a home run last night, 2 hits in tonight's game.
1 ball, 2 strikes now to Payton.
I talked to him before the ball game, and I mentioned this. Nomar Garcia-Parra, they talked quite a bit. They were roommates for 3 years at Georgia Tech, where Jay Payton out-hit Garcia-Parra. I said, are you surprised at the way he's been hitting in the big leagues? He said, the only surprise is the way he's hitting with power. Garcia-Parra was a leadoff hitter at Georgia Tech. The 3rd and 4th hitters, Jay Payton and Veritek with the Boston Red Sox, who's starting to swing the bat pretty well.
Who drafted him originally? Seattle? He didn't sign with Seattle? Veritek?
No, something else I thought. Seattle drafted him. It took him a long time to sign with him. He finally signed. He had played in the independent league, but he was too good a college player. You got to stay with him and find out what he can do on the major league level.
1-2 to Payton outside. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Todd Erdos, the Yankee pitcher, not a bad story either when you consider that it took him 5 years to get into pro ball. He was drafted in 1992 in the 9th round by San Diego. Finally made the Padres 5 years later. Arizona took him in the expansion draft, and he was sent to the Yankees for Andy Fox.
When you watch Jay Payton swing the bat, you can get a feel for the confidence he is now getting at the plate. He's always had confidence as a hitter. And he's on this pitch, he just fouls it back. He's very, very strong, and he's extremely fast. That's a pretty good pitch right there, and he had a good rip and fouled it back. He's a free swinger, doesn't want very much.
Up the middle and off the bag. Well, the Mets have hit the third base bag, the second base bag.
I've never seen it twice in one game, Howie. Now you've watched a lot of games. Have you seen it for the same team in the same game?
On April 19th, 1967, at Shea Stadium, in a game between the Mets and the... Are you kidding
Who
me?
were you sitting with?
I can't remember if I've ever seen... No, I haven't.
I have never seen it. Here's the second time in this ball game a Met batter hits a ball and hits a base. As Howie mentioned, one hit third off the bat of Mike Piazza, and Jay Payton hit second base.
Well, still time for the hat trick. Got to shoot for the bag at first now. Melvin Mora 0 for 1 with a walk since replacing Kurt Abbott, who was thrown out of the game after grounding out to short. He thought that he avoided a tag by Tino Martinez at first. Abbott threw his helmet, presumably said some wrong things. Was thrown out of the game by first base up Marty Foster. So 1-0 on Mora. Hit hard off of Erdos and into center field. Looked like that just ticked off his glove, and Erdos was lucky he got it up there. Well, the Mets continue to hit the ball hard. They've had hits in every inning. That's now 13 hits for the Mets in this game.
Well, it was billed as a pitcher's duel, and it certainly has not been a pitcher's duel. It's 9-2 Mets. And the Mets have 13 hits. Line drive right back up the middle. Mora waiting on the ball. A very hittable pitch. It had a lot of the plate. And Mora going right back up the middle. Mora playing shortstop right now. If you just tuned in, because Kurt Abbott was thrown out of the game.
So now it's Jason Tyner. Jason with 2 hits in 4 trips. He scored twice. You were going with me there on that April 19th.
You had me. You know why? Because
you were buying that.
Well, you know why? When I worked at Mel Allen, he could do it.
Well, that's scary.
A lot of people spent a lot of time, Mr. Met.
Martinez thought about second, and boy, I'll tell you what, Martinez might have forgotten for a moment how fast Jason Tyner was, because Martinez just did get there ahead of Jason. Either that or Martinez had it measured perfectly. 2 men away. And the runners move up, second and third.
And Tino Martinez makes his play, thinks about second base, and then realizes Tyner's going down to first base. I better tag this, get the sure out. It would have been a tough throw going to second base because of the angle. Tino Martinez would have had to throw the ball to Derek Jeter with Melvin Mora going towards second. But now it's Derek Belligan, who has 2 hits in tonight's game.
Each of his last 2 times up. Last one, an RBI double to right. Erdos starts him away, 1-0.
Well, we started the night talking about his slump. He's got the 2 hits. He looks, and this will do it. When you get your first hit, you become a little bit more relaxed. There are certain guys in the major leagues or in pro ball or in high school ball that if they get hit the first time up, they're a real tough out the rest of the game. But if they don't, they're an easier out because they put more and more pressure on themselves as the game goes along. They grip the bat tighter, tighter, and tighter. And when they get that first hit, everything's more relaxed.
So Bell's been on base 3 times, considering he also walked and scored in the 3rd inning. 2 in scoring position here. The Mets already with a 9-2 lead. And Tom Robson hoping the hard work is starting to pay off. But Bell waves at a breaking ball away, and it's 1-2. Barrett will do that. He is always among the highest strikeout hitters in the National League. Bell's already struck out 53 times this season.
Well, one of the reasons is he takes the big swing throughout the at-bat, even with 2 strikes. It's 1-2 now on Derek Bell. He's not going to choke up. He's not going to cut down on his swing.
Deep to left field. Spencer to the warning track. Catch! It's a gunner. Welcome back, Derek Bell. So a proud mom watches her son circle the bases with his 3rd hit of the night.
We talked about the relaxation factor.
12-2 Mets.
And he's totally relaxed. This could pay off, getting him out of his slump. And Mom says, I'm all for him. That's my boy. Here it is again. He's relaxed, and he knew he got it. So Derek Bell with a home run raises the fist, and it's a big night for,
well, Derek Bell with a long-distance drive, which makes Ma Bell happy. Thank you and good night. 12-2 Mets. And Alfonso fouls one away to the right side. Alfonso's gone deep too tonight.
Fonzie goes over the center field fence. 408. We're going to flash back. Watch that train. Bang! Over the center field wall. And Fonzie knew it was gone. So did Bernie Williams. And it's been long ball night here at Yankee Stadium. And we've already forgotten Mike Piazza for having.
I don't think so. I know Roger Clemens has
it. Joe Torre was on his way out to the mound before the ball landed.
I was marginally surprised that Joe even let Clemens start the 6th inning, and presumably those are Yankee fans on their way back home. 12-2 Mets. Alfonso unable to lay off, punched out by first base ump Marty Foster, and the side retired. But Derek Bell, 3 straight hits. He was in a 4-for-54 slump until an RBI single in the 4th. Now he's out of it. His 8th home run of the year has busted this one wide open, making Mama happy. Time to stretch here in the Bronx.
Well, some changes here for the Mets. Joe McEwing now in the ball game at second base. And behind the plate, replacing Mike Piazza, Todd Pratt. So a couple home run hitters out of this ball game. Edgardo Alfonso and Mike Piazza. It's 12-2. The Mets on top of the Yankees. But see that when you're young, you forgive and forget. The Yankee fan said, wait till tomorrow. And Derek Bell, big night for him. Home run, 3 hits. His mom's in the stands. He lives on a boat. Life doesn't get any better, does it?
Not the way he's going. Even with that long slump. Enjoying New York, first year here, living on the yacht down by the Chelsea Piers.
How about developing a great relationship with the fans in right field at Shea Stadium? Who knows? You're out there cheering Derek Bell on. You might get some cotton candy.
Yeah. What else did he do? Did he buy somebody? He bought.
No, he was giving the baby the milk bottle.
Oh, that's right. He was feeding a baby.
And this is all during the slump.
Somebody.
All during a slump.
During the game.
That's not good. There's a slump that you worry about. During the game, do anything. But he's developing a great relationship with the fans in right field at Shea. I wonder if he ever did pay that vendor for that cotton candy.
He's good for it. 1-2 to Clay Bellinger, and Leiter misses away. Well, this has to be fun for Al Leiter, pitching with a 10-run lead in the ballpark where he experienced so many powerful feelings at the beginning of his major league career. Very much a baseball historian. Outside, you know, early in Al Leiter's career, he had trouble with blisters. And so Leiter ended up using a fluid, a liquid that was called Gluteraldehyde. Said he just put a little dab on his finger and it makes it better. He was thinking of bottling that, going into business, and calling it Leiter fluid.
Somebody's already got the name.
Bellinger thrown out by Melvin Mora, 1 away. Well, make sure to tune in to the Metro channel tomorrow night at 9 p.m. On Metro, it'll be New York's love affair with baseball. Big Subway Series weekend on Metro. Willie Mays, a Hall of Fame guest, will be joined by Ralph Branca, Gene Michael, Bobby Valentine, Pulitzer Prize winning columnist Dave Anderson, and Pulitzer Prize runner-up Fran Healy, who will lead the roundtable.
Did fall short last year. It was an exciting year, and they got beat by the Braves. The Braves eventually went on to dominate, and then the Yankees won the World Series. But Al Leiter, speaking as an athlete, when you fall short, it bothers you. And he talked about how close they came to ending up playing against the Yankees in the World Series.
Well, just think how complicated it is to get to the point where you've got any two teams, but certainly two teams in the same city getting into the World Series. Now with 2 tiers of playoffs before the World Series. And I'm too young to remember when they had the last Subway Series in New York in 1956, but given how often the Yankees were there and how often the Dodgers or the Giants were their opponents, I've got to think a lot of people really took that for granted. And notwithstanding the move of the Dodgers and Giants, thought that it was probably the birthright of all of those teams to ultimately get to the World Series. And now you know how difficult it is for it to really happen, at least in today's game.
Well, the Yankees back then, you just figured that they were going to be in the World Series playing against somebody, and it turned out for a number of years to be the Dodgers, and then you just assumed that they would beat the Dodgers. So the Dodgers would beat the Giants, and then the Dodgers would go to the World Series, and they would lose to the Yankees except for one time.
Think about this, from 1949 through 1964, inclusive, the only times the Yankees were not in the World Series, 54 and 59. But in 1954, the New York Giants were there. So the World Series between 1949 and 1964 was in New York, was played in New York every single season, with the exception of 1959. And in that series, the Dodgers, who had by then moved to Los Angeles, represented the National League against the Chicago White Sox. When you talk about taking things for granted in those days, it's understandable. Every year between 49 and 64, except for one, the World Series was played in New York.
Yeah, really is an unbelievable feat. And the New York Yankees, you just assumed when you turned the radio on in October, if you were out of the country, that you would hear Mel Allen and the Yankees were in the World Series.
2-2 to Pratt outside for ball 3.
You see Todd Pratt. Once again, we talked about how productive he has been as a backup player to Mike Piazza. Now, if you want to project over 500 ABs, 52 home runs, right? You know, the more you play, the more other teams study you.
Softly hit. Wilson Delgado now playing second base, throws out Todd Pratt, one away. Yankees making 4 defensive changes here. Clay Bellinger moves from second base to first base. That's Bellinger. And at second base, the man who just came up with the assist, Delgado. Felix Jose stays in the game in right field after pinch hitting for O'Neill. And Chris Turner is the new catcher, replacing Jorge Posada. So now Turner is the guy with the training wheels, as opposed to Posada, who took him off this year, and with Joe Girardi gone, is now the everyday catcher.
Yeah, we talked about how Posada missed out on a lot of time because certain pitchers wanted to pitch to Joe Girardi, who's now catching in Chicago with the Cubs. But boy, if you have a good young catcher with talent, you got to let him develop. They would have won with Posada. But pitchers get involved and they want certain catches. And most managers will tell you, no, I don't go for that. Well, today with the long-term contracts, managers will go for it. If the pitcher's one of his starting pitchers and he's productive, he will tend to lean towards the catcher that the pitcher wants to pitch to. And that's not a good idea.
Outside, 1 ball, 2 strikes.
If you're a manager, you know, when you feel that that catcher can be productive swinging the bat, you want him in the lineup, put him in the lineup. But then you have to deal with the pitchers.
Bounce to first. Bellinger will take it himself, 2 men away. So Ventura is grounded out, and that'll bring up Todd Zeile. All Mets tonight, 12-14-0. The Yankees 2 runs, 7 hits, 2 errors. This one slightly reminiscent of the first game in the series between the Mets and the Yankees 3 years ago. That first interleague series when Dave Malicki pitched the shutout. You saw Gilkey hit the first home run, and the Mets won 6-0. Mets taking charge of that game early. They scored in the first inning and kept tacking runs on. Took the Yankee fans out of their own ballpark pretty early, and tonight, although the Mets have done it in a more prolific fashion, they've done much the same thing. Crowd really thinning out, and I'm sure most of those who are staying are Met fans.
And the big blow that really did some damage early in the ball game, coming off the bat of Mike Piazza, the grand slam, just changed the whole atmosphere. And as you mentioned at the time, Howie, it kind of took the crowd out of the ball game, whatever Yankee fans were here tonight, and got the Met fans deeper into the game.
1 ball, 1 strike to Zeal. Well, think of how long Roger Clemens has been around in the major leagues. Came up in 1986 with the Boston Red Sox, or at least had his first huge year in 1986. Came up the year before that. And the home run Piazza hit was only the 2nd grand slam he'd ever allowed. 1-2 to Zeal on the ground to second base. Delgado throws him out, and the Mets go quietly in the 8th inning. Nothing across, 3 ground ball outs. Middle of the 8th, some big numbers for the New York Mets. Get a full recap of everything that happened tonight on the Sea of Tranquility in the Stanley Cup playoffs and the NBA playoffs, Major League Baseball highlights, and much more. It's all coming up on the National Sports Report tonight after the game right here on Fox Sports Net. Guess when you score 12 runs like the Mets have, the baseball looks about as big and bright as the moon sometimes on its way to home plate.
Well, they got to close it out. They got to take on the Yankees in the 8th and the 9th, and then think about tomorrow. Bobby Jones on the mound, and Bobby has struggled for the Mets, and the one guy who is staying right with him is the manager, Bobby Valentine. A lot of managers would not be pitching Bobby Jones tomorrow, but Bobby Valentine says he has confidence in him.
Chris Turner, the new catcher for the Yankees, takes ball 1. Think of how ironic that is, Fran. Remember 3 years ago when Bobby Jones was having clearly the best season of his major league career, and this first interleague series came around. First one ever in regular season play between the Mets and the Yankees. And the way the rotation shook out, Bobby Jones was going to miss the series. And when you listen to FAN in the days leading up to it, everybody was calling in saying, how can you skip Bobby Jones? You got to start Bobby Jones against the Yankees. And now, look how things have turned around for Bobby Jones.
And I've got to believe that everybody feels that
Chris Turner with a fly ball to left center. Jay Payton calls, 1 away.
Everybody that's following the Mets this year would feel that Bobby Jones should miss this start, but Bobby Valentine is staying with him, and you know, it can help Bobby Jones's confidence if he goes out and pitches a good ball game. It certainly will help Bobby Valentine, but you know, in a series like this, there's been a lot written and a lot said by everybody that maybe Bobby Jones should miss this start, but Bobby Valentine staying with him. And there's no doubt in his mind.
Well, Matt Franco is now at third base, so there's a technicality involved here. Franco had been the designated hitter. The Mets no longer have a designated hitter. So Bobby Valentine, when he brought Turk Wendell into the game and moved Franco from the DH spot to third base, sacrifices his designated hitter. Wendell technically is now batting in the 5th spot, which was occupied by Robin Ventura. Just in case you're keeping a scorecard. It's one of the little nuances of the designated hitter, which in my opinion is best eliminated anyway. Not the nuance, the whole idea of the DH. But if you take a DH and move him to a position on the field where you have to play real baseball, you lose the, quote, privilege, end quote, of having a designated hitter. 2-2 to Delgado. He's batting in Tino Martinez's spot. Delgado now playing second base. Roll to Mora. And there are 2 out.
Well, it certainly will be interesting to find out if eventually baseball will make a decision one way or the other on the DH.
Well, I hope it's the other, if that signifies getting rid of it altogether.
You like to go to the ballpark and watch a manager manage, you know?
Yeah. To an extent, yeah. I like strategy, and there's a whole lot more of it in the National League.
Yeah, Glendon Rush, I was talking to Glendon before the ball game yesterday in the clubhouse. He said the same thing. He said, I like it when, you know, there's different moves on the field. It makes it more intriguing.
Absolutely.
Of course, he is a pitcher. If you get rid of the DH, that takes the bat out of the lineup.
Todd Zeile at first base. Takes it himself, retires Leiter, and the Yankees go quickly in the 8th inning. So Turk Wendell works a 1-2-3-8. Of the first Subway Series has clearly belonged to the New York Mets. Leiter pitched well, and he got plenty of power support. A grand slam from Piazza. A diving catch by Jason Tyner. And then Alfonso went deep. And Joe Torre sent Roger Clemens to the showers. Thanks to Derek Bell, who made Ma Bell happy with a home run of his own. All part of our GM game summary.
And Leiter pitched a fine ball game for the Mets. They got the long ball from Piazza, Alfonso, and Bell. And leading off the game, the young player, the young rookie, Jason Tyner, picked up a base hit, setting the tone. An offensive night for the Mets.
Matt Franco, now the third baseman, formerly the designated hitter, faces former Met Alan Watson. Watson making his 10th appearance of the year. Watson was on the disabled list for the same reason that Rick Reed missed a start recently. Had a strained oblique muscle on his left side. Did a rehab assignment down in Columbus. And Franco hits one in the air. Short right field. In come Williams and Jose. And neither of them come up with it. That ball had a lot of hang time and had to be caught.
Yeah, that's amazing. That had an awful lot of hang time. 3 guys converging on the ball, and everybody stopped.
Well, he'll take it. Well, Matt Franco had a slow start to this season, so this counts as a base hit for him.
It looked like Matt hit the ball off the end of the bat, and he had to believe this thing's going to be caught, but he gets a gift. Look at Bernie Williams stopping. Some communication problems out there in center field and right field. You see that swing, Matt Franco underneath the ball, hit the ball off the end of the bat, but he picked up a base hit. Hey, by the way, keep in mind, we talked about tomorrow, Bobby Jones, he'll be opposed by Andy Pettit. And on Sunday, David Cone against Mike Piazza.
Benny Agbayani pinch hitting here for Jay Payton. And the Mets holding a 12-2 lead at the top of the 9th inning. So Bobby Valentine giving Benny Agbayani an at-bat here. No balls, 2 strikes. We've told you since Bobby Valentine took over the Mets. We didn't need to tell you if you've been watching, because it's so evident how Bobby likes to utilize his entire bench within the course of a season, and certainly within the course of any given week. And he'll get everybody at bats. Tonight he's been able to do it within the course of 1 game, even with his designated hitter spot. Agbayani strikes out. The Mets have now surrendered their DH spot because they moved Franco from the DH to third. But Lenny Harris was given 3 at-bats as the DH. Mets broke the game open, so Bobby said, let's give Matt Franco a couple of at-bats there.
So Bobby Valentine trying to get guys the at-bats they need to get their swings down. And again, we're talking about tomorrow's game, and that, you know, it's not over till it's over, and I believe what Yogi says. But if you look at tomorrow, Andy Pettit, it's going to be difficult to run against the Yankees with Pettit on the mound with that great move to first base, the best move in baseball by a left-hander. But Bobby Valentine managing aggressively tonight, putting runners in motion.
0-1 to Melvin Mora, and Watson misses away. Melvin, a walk and a run scored, bounce back to the box,
and you know,
and also a hit and a run scored.
This is a situation for players where you can impress the manager. You pick up a couple base hits. They're studying their talent on the field, so you might not start tomorrow or Sunday or next week, but following week, if somebody is struggling, you might get an opportunity because of what you have done tonight, even though it's a 12-2 ball game. You get scouts in the stands. That can help your career.
Popped up by Mora. Playable on the infield. The second baseman Delgado called, and that's the second out. So 2 outs here in the Mets half of the 9th. Well, the Stanley Cup Finals will continue tomorrow night. The Devils still trying to close out the Dallas Stars. And the Devils postgame show on MSG Network is your source for extensive postgame coverage. Tune to MSG Network following tomorrow's potential cup clincher for the Devils for highlights, recaps, and insight. The Devils postgame show tomorrow exclusively on MSG. Jason Tyner up for the 6th time tonight. And he's been on base 3 of the previous 5. He's got a double, reached on an error and scored. Also singled and scored. Also made a nice catch in the outfield. Hits this one in the air to center field. Should be an easy play for Bernie Williams. And the side retired. No runs. Mets with a leadoff hit off of Allen Watson. Yankees need 10 to tie and 11 to win. Because it's the regular season, Al Leiter thinks it means a great deal.
The last 4 years, the Yankees have been the premier team in baseball. And in order to have aspirations of winning a World Series, it would be definitely a good gauge to know that during the season you beat the 3-time world champion straight up, and hope that if in the event that you get to a World Series that we get an opportunity to play them again. So yeah, these games do mean a lot.
It certainly would help your confidence as Rich Rodriguez comes into this ball game. It would help your confidence if you could win 2 of 3 from the Yankees. But the Mets are playing good ball. We talked about the standings coming into tonight's action. The Mets trailing the Braves in the East by 4.5. So they're creeping up on those Braves. And, you know, when you think of the way the season started, the Mets, they had a winning streak of 9 games, and the Braves go out and win 15 straight. But the Mets are closing the gap, and they got a big lead here tonight against the Yanks.
Rich Rodriguez becomes the 3rd Mets pitcher. Misses inside to Scott Brocious.
It's almost a season within a season for the Mets and the Yankees, the Subway Series. The Yankees are concerned with the Red Sox, and the Mets are concerned with the Braves.
And the 1-0 pulled foul right off the railing in front of the Mets dugout. So 1-1 to Brocious.
But these two franchises here in New York have generated so much interest in baseball. I've never seen so much interest concerning both of these teams at the same time.
In the mid-'80s, when the Mets were building their very strong team and the Yankees were contending, that's the closest we came. When Don Mattingly was the hero here at Yankee Stadium, and Doc and Darryl were the stars of the show at Shea. Boy, remember the arguments? Who's better, Mattingly or Hernandez?
Yeah.
I grew up with who's better, Cleon or Roy White, or Tom Seaver or Mel Stottlemyre. And I think they're doing more of that now than ever before.
Yeah. Well, back in what they call the golden era of baseball in New York, they talked about Willie, Mickey, and the Duke, who was better, and of course, Pee Wee and Scooter.
Just a bit outside. 2-2 to Brocious.
Another name we brought up in our roundtable discussion was Alvin Dark. Alvin Dark was a good shortstop, good hitting shortstop. But it was great to hear the arguments that who was better, and you still get it now. Who's bigger, Piazza or Jeter?
2-2 to Brocious. Popped up behind the plate. Pratt hoping for a play, and he's got one. 1 down to the 9th. My favorite in the mid-'60s was the bullpen. Who's the better reliever, Thad Tillotson or Bill Wakefield? We didn't spend a whole lot of time throwing that one back and forth.
Well, Pratt has that hockey mask on, but no matter what type of mask you have on, get rid of it. Once that ball's hitting in the air, find out where it is and fire that mask. The only problem is sometimes you fire it and you get the umpire.
Fastball outside to Clay Bellinger. Bellinger 0 for 3 tonight.
Ball's hit up in the air. When you're catching, you panic and you quickly turn around. And who's behind you? The umpire. And your hands go out and you take them and you fire them. They're never happy with that result.
And the 1-0 from Rodriguez. Bounce foul. Bellinger playing in place of Chuck Knobloch tonight, although he has since moved from second to first base. Knobloch has one of those Steve Sachs things going.
Yeah, and you know, we've talked about it tonight, and I mentioned how I experienced it throwing back to the pitcher. If you have that problem in New York, you'll never overcome that thing.
Bellinger shoots one through the hole.
You'll disguise it, but you'll never overcome it. I mean, you're on TV every single day playing in front of big crowds. So Knobloch has his work cut out for him overcoming that problem.
Subway Series 2000 has been presented by Empire Blue Cross Blue Shield. More choices from out of the blue. So the Yankees with 8 hits in this game now. Derek Jeter has 3 of them. And Jeter will settle in against Rich Rodriguez. Well, of all the Yankees who are part of a team that's won 3 World Series out of the last 4 years, this is the one guy of the bunch who certainly seems to have the best shot at taking his place in Memorial Monument Park someday as a potential Hall of Famer. Very competitive kid, always was. In fact, back in Little League, there's an incident once where his dad got mad at him because after a game that Derek's team lost, Derek refused to shake hands. Kind of like Billy Smith when, and that had nothing to do with winning or losing. Billy Smith, the former Islander goaltender, great goaltender, just didn't believe in shaking hands with the opposition after a series. But Derek was so upset at losing, he wouldn't do it. His dad said, give up baseball, grab a tennis racket. He said, you don't know how to play a team sport. Go take up tennis. This could end it. Rodriguez to Mora to Zeal. Put it in the books. The Mets take round 1. 12-2, the final tonight.
Well, it was a relaxing night for the Mets. Once they started scoring those runs, it started in the 3rd. A grand slam home run off the bat of Mike Piazza. They picked up 1 in the 4th, 1 in the 5th, 3 in the 6th, 3 in the 7th, 12 runs, 12-2 victory. So it was relaxing after the grand slam. So Bobby Valentine will go with Bobby Jones tomorrow against Andy Pettit. The Mets will get some sleep and come back here for an afternoon game at Yankee Stadium as the Subway Series continues.
So the suspense was taken out of this game, certainly by the halfway point, just the way these guys like it, because they're the ones who were the suspense killers tonight. Long balls will do that. Mets hit 3 of them. Piazza, Alfonso, Derek Bell. So plenty for Bobby Valentine to be happy about as the Mets win the opener of this year's first of 2 Subway Series. 12-2, the final tonight here at Yankee Stadium. We'll have more from the Bronx as we wrap things up right after these messages.